and not the ESCOM revised expenses items. The methodology that was included was the cost plus and not the against the audited financial statements to ensure that they relate only to the electricity function of the licensee. Inefficient costs such as your NMD exceeding penalties amounting to 2.1 million and interest on ESCOM debt amounting to 36.4 are removed from the total cost as they are deemed to be within the municipality's control. The licensee applied for operational expenditure, including depreciation of 46.4 million, as highlighted in Table 4 of the revenue requirement. The municipality's asset and depreciation values are details on page 17 of page 73 the municipality's in the supplementary. The licensee applied 98.3 and operational expenditure, including depreciation. These values were verified against the audited default information, Table 24-25 revenue requirement. The municipality applied for a surplus depreciation of the ones are details on page 17 of page 73, 30% return on OPEX. The licensee applied 98.3 and operational expenditure, depreciation. These values for the verified against the audited more than higher than 25 revenue requirements. The municipality applied for a surplus depreciation after the one details on page 17 of the revenue against return on OPEX and also impacting negatively on the tariff. So then this, after netting of the purchases, then the surplus reduced to a lower percentage, which is a 13%. And then this return proposed by the municipality is considered reasonable as it falls below the, as it falls within the established range of 10 to 20%. Based on the outcome of the cost of supply, the municipality would require an increase of approximately 14.2%, translating into an allowable revenue of 234%. However, the municipality is proposing a lower increase of 11.1%, adopting a phased-in approach to mitigate potential negative impact on customers. The municipality, in terms of the tariffs, the study shows that prepaid customers are currently paying less than the cost of supplying them, while business customers are paying more, resulting in cross-subsidization. The proposed tariff increase differ across customer groups, where other components will see a cost-reflective increase, while other components will see a lower increases to mitigate and reduce the undue cross-subsidization. It is therefore recommended that the 11.1% that the municipality is proposing be approved, and the recommendations are starting from on page 90 of 636, and they read as follows. The tariffs that are based on the cost of supply are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by the municipality with effect from the 1st of July 2026. The cost of supply study submitted by the municipality be noted. The municipality is also required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in its cost of supply study to enable the regulator to perform its independent verification or audit process by the 31st of January 2027. The municipality is also required to continue to monitor the plans that they have put in place in reducing the high energy losses to maintain them at a single digit. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Leburu. Members, questions, issues of clarity or points of announcement on this application? There are questions Ms. Maseki has noted in the chat. Ms. Maseki, if you don't mind highlighting them to the presenter, it will be appreciated. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Two things, Chair. One is this return that Ms. Leburu makes mention to. Why is the return only based on OPEX? We've got guidance in our own in the framework, at least when it comes to this. So it cannot be OPEX only. There is CAPEX. Remember, I again on Friday read that out, which stated clearly that it is OPEX as well as CAPEX. It is even stated there that there must be CAPEX plans submitted to the regulator for assessment and approval. Two things, for assessment and approval. So it cannot be that we can only base it on the OPEX. Can that be understood? Because that's the framework, legal framework that we are working, or regulatory framework that we are using here. So that is the first question. So it can't be OPEX only. Can it be clarified why the other component of the cost is excluded? Then the second thing, Chair, this reference to 10 to 20% of surplus. Can I emphasize it again that this is a historical thing? Yes, it is there. Remember that the framework was approved in 2016. The court judgments came afterwards to show unreasonableness or irrationality based on efficiencies, which are the things that are being questioned in the way that we interact or engage with these things when we do the analysis. So we must keep that at the back of our minds, that even if we have this framework is a 2016 framework. But all of these court judgments that found the guidelines that we are using today, they were copied, they were taken there, exported, or imported from those to find themselves in this framework that we are still using. So it is important that when the analysis is done properly, not to just give the surplus and not link it to a reasonable return, which will then translate to a profit margin commensurate with the risk. I'm using that terminology deliberately because it is what the Act says we must do, or the EPP says we must do. So I just wanted to bring that aspect up so that this guideline of 10 or 20%, at least we must be able to justify it using that those risk, Chairperson. Otherwise, if we just take 20% and simply say that, oh no, it is in the framework, therefore we must just allow, or 18% that is applied for, we must give them. How do we give them? Because we are required to give a profit margin that is commensurate with the risk. Then that's how we benchmark that surplus that is needed, so that we don't overcompensate. And then we don't have the basis for that, and we get taken to court. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Moseti. Mr. Mkiza.
I'm covered, Chairperson. Maybe before the team responds, I think it's also important just to ensure that we state clearly, because as we have done previously, that where there are cross subsidies, the municipality will also need to work on a cross subsidy framework, just to make sure that there is fair and equitable manner. There's a fair and equitable manner in which these subsidies are done, and there is also transparency. So this is just one thing. And then secondly, I think it's also important just from the record perspective, because my understanding is that these guidelines were also reviewed. There were those that were before, and then I think it was 2023. I think I'm not so sure whether after, but it was after the guidelines court case of 2022. Yeah, but this one was late 2023, if I'm not mistaken. We just put the record straight around the sequence of these events. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkiza. Ms. Leburu.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think Mr. Mkiza's issues were just for enhancement. And in terms of Ms. Moseti issues, in terms of the level of the profit margin, the municipality, we did not only take into consideration the bulk purchase, but we also, to ensure that the surplus is commensurate with the level of the risk profile of the municipality, the qualitative risk consideration were incorporated, which was including the revenue collection, risk of the municipality, such as your non-payment and your bad debts, operational risks also, such as your energy losses that has to be maintained within the single digits, and also the aging infrastructure and broader financial sustainability of the municipality was also taken into consideration to say that the surplus is considered reasonable at those levels. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Any follow-up, members? I think for me, the issue of bulk account, I think you didn't mention whether are they, and in fact, in whether they are in arrears or not. But I do note that any interest levied on it, on late payments or non-payment, has been disregarded in the application. Are they in order, or are they up to date with their bulk account?
The municipality CEO, they are not in order with their bulk account. That is why they are being charged interest on their ESCOM debt.
Okay, thank you. Okay, members, any questions, issues of clarity? Noting the guidance given with regard to the consideration of CAPEX and OPEX, and not only CAPEX, and as well as the issue of the guidelines that needs to be aligned to the risks. We can't just give the 10 to 20% risk, and also the need for cross-subsidy framework. Anything else in terms of those enhancements that members are requesting the team to consider? I don't see any hand on that note. Members, can I get an indication by show of hand that you support the recommendations as read out into the record? They are on page 90, and also noting the area points of enhancements to be taken up by the team. Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. I do support. I do not see any hand from Ms. Thank you, Ms. Maseki and Mr. Makina. On that note, colleagues, may we then move on to the next application, which is Elias Motsoaledi. It will be led by Ms. Ketana. And may I, Team EPT, request that really we be mindful of the time as well, but not without compromising the presentations. Over to you, Ms. Ketana.
Good day, Chairperson and board members. I would like to bring to your attention a typo on the heading on the supplementary page that needs to be corrected. On the heading that was incorrectly stated as Msuka Ligwa, the municipality is actually Elias Motsoaledi local municipality. Okay, thanks. Elias Motsoaledi local municipality is situated in the Limpopo province. They have revised their cost of supply study. The actual performance of the municipality had a 2.56 deficit and energy losses of 11.25%. The Elias Motsoaledi utilized the revised cost of supply study developed by SIA, and the municipality opted to use the cost-plus methodology aligned to the NERSA COS framework. Now, when verifying the cost drivers, the inefficient costs such as bad debts were removed, and the municipality had no NMD and interest, and shared costs were ring-fenced and allocated strictly to the electricity business using the deform and verified against the AFS and trial balance in line with the cost of supply framework. And the municipality has an asset value of 62 million and depreciation of 4.7 million. The allowed surplus on the surplus indicated on the COS was 9%. However, the municipality applied for a 7.6% increase, ensuring that the surplus is not overstated. by aligning to the policy position 1 of the EPP and cost of supply framework. The surplus at 9% would have been 20 million, versus the surplus at 7.6 would have been 19 million, and the difference would be 1.57 million. Now, the manufacturing and industrial customers are the main cross-subsidizing customers to the residential customers, and the MINIC applied for 7.6 to reach cost reflectivity. NERSA have complied with the statutory requirement on public consultation. The municipality held their own public participation on 30 March, and there was no correspondence received from MINIC regarding the comments received. Now the recommendations are read as follows. The energy regulator notes the cost of supply report submitted by the municipality. The energy regulator approves that the tariffs that are based on the cost of supply as recommended in the tariff analysis be for implementation 1 July 2026 be approved. The municipality to submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in the trial balance to enable the regulator to perform its independent verification. The municipality has complied with the statutory requirements on public consultation, and the municipality to submit audited financial reports that reflect the impact on its cost of supply-based tariffs and customers, as well as its licenses, sustainability, and local economy. We recommend that the tariffs be included in the cost of supply study be approved as recommended, and that the members note the cost of supply study applied for. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kekana. Members, any questions, issues of clarity, or points of enhancement in relation to this particular submission from Elias Mutsoledi? Show of hand, please. I don't see any hand. On that note, I take it that the enhancements that have been highlighted with regard to the other applications will be highlighted to the correspondence to Munich's, and as well as I think things like the need to have a framework for cross subsidies. And I think that's the point that I had noted from the previous submissions. Members, by show of hand, can I get an indication that you support this particular application from Elias Mutswadi as presented to yourselves? Thank you, Mr. Mkhize and Mr. Majola. I do support. Thank you, Ms. Masiti. Can we move on to the next application? It is from Elundini Municipality. Ms. Matlou.
Good morning, Chairperson. Okay, thank you. Good morning, Chairperson, members, and colleagues. NERSA received Elundini tariff application with the cost of supply study on 16 March 2026, and it was posted on the NERSA website on 19 March for stakeholder comments, and there were no comments received. And the municipality also did consultation on their side, and there were no objections. With regard to the financial and technical performance, the financial and technical performance has not improved compared to the previous year because the deficit has increased from 9.46 to 38.66. The reason for the high deficit is due to 9% in decrease in total revenue and 43% increase in grant allocation. Energy losses accounts for 12 million lost in revenue and high level of bad debt and going energy distribution challenges. And energy losses has increased from 30.22 to 32.93 in 2024-24 financial year. This is due to illegal connection, and the municipality has implemented measures in place to address the percentage deficit and high energy losses. And the what-if scenario was done, and it shows that there is 11 million lost in revenue. However, if they reduce their losses to 12%, there will be an additional 36 million revenue. The municipality did not exceed its NMD, and there is no interest imposed on the bulk account. And the municipality revised its cost of supply study support to support The municipality revised its cost of supply study to introduce new tariffs such as conventional single phase, SSEG tariffs, and municipal own-use tariffs. The tariff application complied with the COS framework as well as Section 18.7. And costs were built up from verified bulk purchases, ESCOM invoices, and verified electricity-related operating costs. And these were tested against DFORM, trial balance, audited financial statements, and they were all aligned to the COS framework. And Table 4 on page 158 highlights all the figures that were used in determining the revenue requirement. And to ensure that the applied sublet is not commensurate with the risk, the following risk consideration were considered: revenue correction risk, financial sustainability, and the operational risk. And the burdens of 3.7 million were written off. And the costs were mainly for electricity business and were indicated on the DFORM and verified on the annual financial statements, which separate municipal business. This is on paragraph 4.5.2 of page 159. And with the regards to the COS results, the municipality decided to increase their tariff based on the COS results of 12.2%. The municipality has decided to implement a uniform approach of 12.2 in all their tariffs, and domestic customers are being subsidized by commercial and industrial customers. And future COS updates will refine tariff structures and reduce distortion between customer categories. With regards to the recommendation, tariffs that are based on the cost of supply report are approved as recommended for implementation 1 July 2026. The cost of supply study submitted by the municipality being noted, the municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in the study to enable the energy regulator to perform its independent verification process. The municipality is required to submit a report on energy losses reduction by 30 September 2026. To strengthen the financial health of the electricity business, the municipality must implement strategies to optimize revenue collection and increase operating surplus. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. McClough. Mr. Mkhize, your hand has been up. I don't know if you wanted to interject the presenter.
Apologies, it's a ring one. Thank you.
Okay, all right. On that note, members, can I get an indication of any issue that you may have in relation to the application from Elundini Municipality? Any points you want to make on this one? Thank you, Ms. Masetti. You may come in.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, just in terms of the sales, remember, if just to get an indication from Ms. Matlow, given the high energy losses that are above 30%, for instance, number one. Number two, the fact that the obviously that is also caused by the electricity theft. What I would like to know is the sales that the municipality is able to sort of claim the cost from compared to what the municipality is buying from ESCOM, say from the bulk purchase. So it will have X amount of what it is buying from ESCOM, but it is only capable of recovering its cost on Y amount of sales. Can we get that? Because it is quite important for us to then check this issue of efficiency. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Septimus. Nathan, you may
Can I please be assisted by my colleagues, if possible? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone from the team, Macro, who can assist? Or whilst just help me as to who can assist you. Let me take Mr. Mkhize's point so that it can be responded to as well. Mr. Mkhize.
Thanks, Chair. Just from a point of view of categorization of these municipalities, I know there were issues around how to name those categories, but really any entity that has got this kind of losses of close to 33%. You know, to expect any performance there, I mean, profitability of any kind or soundness of conducting in that kind of a business is actually, you know, a no-brainer. So I would say that let's look at these and really highlight them for special intervention with all the other authorities in place, just to make sure that this particular matter is addressed. It's really an unacceptable state of affairs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. I think that is a point of enhancements in terms of processes that we get an indication of licensees that have high losses and see what other interventions can be done, and as well as engagements. However, I think we still do need these municipalities to just submit plans as to how they are planning on reducing the losses, and we are required as well to monitor that part. Ms. Matlo, who is going to assist you on Ms. Maseti's questions on the issue of sales of the Munich, and as well as what they do recover from that and the impact of that in terms of what is being applied for.
Okay, my apologies. Is it possible for Ms. Maseti to repeat her question if possible? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Maseti. I've summarized it. Maybe I'm doing justice to it.
Thank you. Also, the EM is here. I'm sure you got the gist of what I was asking. What I'm saying, which is something that is always contentious, is so that you look at whether the municipality is an efficient licensee, is to look at the amount that it is buying from Eskom. So you will have X amount of what the municipality in terms of its bulk, how much it is buying from Eskom. Then you will also look at the sales to say, out of this, it is recovering its cost only on X amount of electricity from what it has purchased from Eskom. So that's what I'm looking at, because it will mean that a lot of that has been stolen, has not been paid for. So it does show then that if the municipality does not take any measures, put certain measures in place, it means therefore that it will have these huge energy losses, and therefore most of the money goes there, and it should have some measure of control to be able to constrain the erosion of its revenue, so that we don't just compensate things that the municipality ought to have addressed and not just let them, continue. Thank you.
Ms. Matlo,
Okay.
I think just here now.
Yeah. Chair, can I come in? Yeah, I'll try to attempt to answer based on Ms. Maseti's questions. Yeah, this municipality, they are still buying at a nice safe. I know there are some changes with regards to the tariff, but some of the municipalities, they haven't gone to Eskom to change some of their tariff categories. However, because they are buying at a nice safe, so that is the problem that is causing the challenges with regards to this municipality, because they are buying at a very high price at Eskom, and then hence when they are selling at a loss. And however, due to illegal connection, this affects the financial sustainability of the municipality. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Matlo. Ms. Maseti, any guidance on what needs to be done?
Chairperson, she doesn't answer. She's generalized. I'm not asking about the tariff at which it is buying. Can somebody assist? Because all this is supposed to be in the document, in the calculations, when they're doing the revenue calculation. You see, when they're doing the table there for revenue calculation and all of those OPEX and all of that, they will show how much the municipality is buying from Eskom, apart from the tariff but the amount. Then you will able now, when you do a thorough analysis on the efficiencies and showing the challenges for the municipality, you will show that the municipality is only recovering from X amount of sales, instead of recovering from all of that electricity that it has bought from Eskom. Say 20% of it maybe is what has been stolen, or 40% of it is what has been stolen. So the municipality, as it has bought 100% from Eskom, is only recovering 60% of what it is purchasing from Eskom. That one is a simple one. I don't think I can explain it further. Is it able to recover 70% or 80% from what it is buying from Eskom? That's all that I'm asking. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Liburu, do you want to come in and assist?
Thank you, Chairperson. I will try. So I'm looking at the performance indicators of the municipality here. So the municipality is losing, in terms of their total revenue, the revenue has reduced by 9%, when the total expenditure has increased by 15%. And the main contributor to the erosion of this total revenue, it's your bad debt. The municipality recorded did not write off any bad debt in the previous financial year, but right now in the current financial year, the municipality decided to write off 3.7 million of the bad debts, and also the other revenue. The municipality collected more, 17 million in the previous financial year, whereas in the current financial year is only collecting 9.9 million. Thank you, Chairperson.
I'm not sure if it answers Ms. Yansiti's question. I saw that your hand was up. Do you want to come in?
Yeah, yes, Chairperson, but it's just that I haven't gone through the application itself. But I think what Ms. Masedi needs is, if we reduce losses and we reduce all the inefficiency, or rather, how much do we get from if losses are 30%, and then it means the municipality is selling for 70%, and from that 70% and the collections up until we reach at the point where we up much we have sold, which is what will be deemed as the efficient level. But I think, Chairperson, I don't know if it's possible for colleagues to calculate it now, but I think it can be an enhancement further to other submissions such as this. But Ms. Masedi, I really note what you are saying, and I know where you're coming from. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Maseti, I think there is no clear response to your questions, but I think the team in the other applications can enhance what you have raised, because the point that you're raising is that they need to indicate in terms of how much they buy from Eskom, and out of what they have bought, they do sell. And in terms of those sales, what is it that they are recovering out of those sales, and what is it that it doesn't get recovered? And that's what you were saying. They need to highlight that in terms of that particular point, and also how those calculations, or rather what has been recovered and not recovered, gets taken into account in the application, if I'm simplifying it in terms of what I heard you saying. So colleagues, that is one of the points of enhancements that you need to highlight in your presentations. Where the numbers are not there, please indicate such that we consider how we make a decision in the absence of that of those details. Are you fine, Ms. Masiti?
I'm fine, Chairperson. It must just be part and parcel of what we're considering. It is linked to these issues of the losses, but then it zooms straight into that revenue erosion as part of the efficiencies and so forth. So it is something that is quite significant. Thanks, Chair.
All right. Thank you so much for that input. I don't see any other hand from the members. And can I get an indication that the members support this particular application with that point of enhancements on this particular application and the other future applications that we're going to be considering. Thank you, Mr. Mkize. I also support, thank you, Ms. Maseti. The application from Elundini Municipality is supported. We will then skip Mfuleni Municipality, which has been withdrawn from being considered today. We then move on to the next one, which is Hamahara Municipality. Ms. Masike, if you can speak up, or rather pick up speed when presenting this one. Over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning once again. Hamahara is based in the Northern Cape province. The municipality has indicated that they did consult with the affected parties as well as achieve a council resolution on the proposed increase. The table 3 on page 232 of 636 reflects that the municipality is operating at a surplus of 4.69, but the losses have increased to 24.41. The methodology that was used by the municipality to determine the revenue requirement was the cost plus methodology. We looked at we looked and verified the bulk purchases as well as all the other costs using the deforms and the trial balance and audited financials. Also, the key inputs to the revenue requirement was the asset values, depreciation, and the profit margin. The return was calculated at 9%. We do note Ms. Maseti's earlier comments. The subsidies in terms of the current tariffs, the COS reveals that the cost revenue, there are cost revenue misalignments across the customer categories, and over recovery is observed in the domestic conventional tariffs with 28%, the manufacturing industrial 31%. And in terms of the NMD and the interest, the municipality removed it from the cost of supply that was submitted. The risk, in terms of the risk, the losses we looked into in terms of the foregone revenues, the energy losses of 21 million units, resulting in a loss of approximately 47 million rand at the selling price of 2.19 rand was calculated. So these losses translate to 24.41%, which is significantly above the acceptable levels. The requested 9.7 increase is considered to be acceptable in that the municipality still has to consider the 9.01 bulk purchases, and then the difference between 9.7 and 9.01 will be used for other operational costs. Chairperson, the recommendations read as follows. The tariffs that are based on the COS are approved and recommended in the tariff analysis, as recommended in the tariff analysis sheet for implementation on the 1st of July. The cost of supply be noted. The municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in the COS by 31st January 2027. And furthermore, the municipality will be required to submit the quarterly report on how the energy losses will be reduced. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Masike. Members, any questions, issues of clarity, or points of announcements on this application from Hamahara Municipality? I don't see any hands, and the recommendations are on page 223, and they have been read into the record. On that note, can I get an indication that members supports the application? Or rather, the recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Mkize, Ms. Maseti. I do support Mr. Majola. Thank you, Mr. Majola. We move on to the next application, which is from Ingubaya Themba Municipality. Ms. Liburu.
Once again, Chairperson, Inguba municipality is situated in Cradock in the Eastern Cape province. The municipality is applying for an average increase of 90.0%. In terms of compliance with legislative requirement, the application was published on the NERSA website on the 31st of March for stakeholder comments, and the municipality also indicated that they undertook their own consultation process with council and its customer. There were no stakeholder comments that were received. Financial and technical performance, the municipality recorded a 48.8% deficit for 24-25 financial year, which is demonstrating a decline from the previous year's 8%. This decline is primarily due to the reduced total revenue, which is emanating from the 44 million ESCOM waiver that was received in the previous financial year. The municipality owes ESCOM, and its revenue is being eroded by interest charged towards ESCOM debt. Total revenue was reduced by 1%, while total expenditure increased by 30%. NERSA relied on the actual audited 2024-25 financial year's distribution forms in evaluating the financial and technical performance of Inguba Yetemba. In terms of the energy losses, the municipality has increased. The energy losses has increased from 16% to 21% to 22% in the current financial year, and the reasons and the measures that has been put in place are detailed in the RFD. The what-if scenario was done to ascertain the municipality's performance if the energy losses were to be reduced to a single digit, and the outcome shows that the municipality would have reduced the deficit of 48%, translating into a 17 billion additional revenue, as shown on page 30 of page 73, item 11 in the supplementary two-pager. The cost of supply, the municipality revised it to align it with ESCOM tariff structure. The methodology that was used was cost plus and not the ROR, and all the expenses that were included in the revenue requirement were verified against the audited financial statements to ensure that they are solely for the electricity functions of the licensee. And those inefficient costs were also removed as they are deemed to be within the municipality's control. They include your NMD penalties and your ESCOM interest charged on the outstanding ESCOM bulk. The asset register, the depreciation and the asset value, my apologies. The municipality's asset and depreciation values are details on page 27 of page 73 in the supplementary two-pager. These values were verified against the audited D-forms information for the 24-25 financial year. In terms of the return, it was calculated based on the 9% to ensure that the return is not excessive or detrimental to customers. The verification was undertaken, and the risk profile of the municipality was also considered, which incorporates risks such as your non-payment, such as your bad debts, your operational risks, including all these energy losses and the factors that are contributing to the energy losses, and broader financial sustainability requirements. Therefore, the applied return is considered reasonable, and it commensurate with this risk, particularly in the context of municipalities distributor that is not profit maximizing, but mainly remain financial viable. The results of the cost of supply shows that the municipality needed 13% to be cost reflective. However, the municipality proposes a lower increase of 9%, adopting a phased approach across all customer category to mitigate the potential impact on customers. In the absence of the cross-subsidy framework, the municipality is applying across the board a uniform 9.0%. Finally, all the tariffs are increasing by the proposed 9%, and the key findings and analysis are also detailed in each of them. The recommendations are found in page 90 of page 636, and they are reading as follows. The tariffs that are based on the cost of supply study are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by the 1st of July. The cost of supply study submitted by the municipalities be noted that the municipality is required to submit a report that is accounting for all the costs that have been noted in the cost of supply to ensure that the energy regulator performs independent verification by the 31st of January 2027. The municipality is also required to continue to reduce the energy losses that are high and the plans that are put in place to be monitored to ensure that they are submitted. The progress report is submitted to NERSA on a quarterly basis. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Liburu. Members, any questions, issues of clarity? I don't see any hand, and I think the issue of capping the losses to 12% it needs to be highlighted because it makes one wonder as to what would have been the results if we had pushed the losses to a single-digit number. I see their hands now. Ms. Masetti?
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, mine is just on the issue of interest. How did we treat interest, especially because we've taken a position that we can't be sort of allowing consumers to be paying interest, and we've done the same with ESCOM and also on the municipalities. So that does not amount to an efficiently operated business. So I just wanted to understand what have we done there, and also then the outcome based on the adjustments and disallowed cost, how that translates into the final revenue as well as the final tariff.
Thank you, Ms. Masetti. Mr. Mkhize?
Thank you. I think it remains important to highlight that the municipality did or did not have its own public consultation process prior to us having our own. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Liburu, I think some of the points were covered in your presentation, but please do go ahead and repeat them.
Chairperson, yes, I indicated that the municipality also undertook their own consultation process. In terms of Ms. Masetti, the interest that was removed from the revenue allowed is that it was amounting to, on the ESCOM debt, was amounting to 30.74 billion. If I can quickly go to just, apologies, I need to go to the table. The revenue requirement, yes, after...
Sorry, how much is it in billions, the interest? Can you repeat the figure?
Yeah, 37,74754 million. Not 30.7 million, Ms. Masetti.
Billion.
Come again?
We can't have an interest that goes into a billion.
I said million, not billion.
Million, it's not billion. Okay, move.
Yeah,
proceed.
I said million, not billions.
Okay, proceed then. I think that's noted. Proceed with your response.
Yes, so the total revenue outside of the removal of those inefficiencies amounted to 352 million, and after removing those inefficiencies, then the total revenue allowed is 241 million.
Okay, members, are you covered? But I think on the issue of public participation, Meliburu, just present it in full so that there's no repetition. Mr. Mkhize may have missed that you indicated that there were public participation processes, and we have said when we indicate on the issue of public participation processes, we need to get an indication from the analysts that there were no comments received, and if there were any, how were they dealt with? So you just said the municipality did its public participation process and you left it at there. Can you repeat that for the record to say that on NERSA side, we publicized there were no comments received, if there are any, indicate, and on the municipal side, in terms of the report you got from the municipalities, they said they have done it and that there were no public participation or rather comments received. Can you just wrap that up in that proper manner for members? And then I'll check with Ms. Massetti if she's got any follow-up in terms of your response. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. In terms of the compliance with legislative requirement, Section 10 of PAJA, the application was published on the NERSA website on the 31st of March for stakeholder comments. And the municipality indicated that they also undertook their own consultation process with the council and its customer. And there were no stakeholder comments that were received from their side. And also there were no stakeholder comments that were received from NERSA side.
Thank you. Ms. Massetti, back to you. Are you covered in terms of your point that you were raising?
Chairperson, what I'm not covered on is the outcome of the adjustment. Once we disallow, I'm repeating this, I don't know how many times now, when you disallow certain costs on the revenue side and also translate into the tariffs, what is the amount now compared to what the municipality has applied for? Because if we say the municipality applied for X amount of the revenue, but we disallowed the Y amount. So how much now are we required to approve? And therefore the tariff that correlates with the adjusted amount. That's what I'm asking when everyone who makes adjustments, please.
Thank you. Ms. Liburu?
Chairperson, after the disallowance of all the inefficiencies, in fact, before the disallowance, the municipality would have received seen a tariff increase of 13%. But once all the inefficiencies are taken away, all the fats are taken away from the surplus, then the average increase for the municipality, it became lower than that 13.0% increase. And the revenue that was about over 340 million, it became 241 million, which is the one that is now translating to the cost, fully cost reflective in the cost of supply study.
Ms. Massetti?
I'll leave it there, Chair.
Okay. On that note, Ms. Liburu, the recommendations, I don't know, you mentioned a different page. According to my pack, they are on 246, and you have read them into the record. And I just wanted to check with you the pages. I have 246, am I correct? In the main application, 246.
Yes, Chair, you are correct. I think I confused them with the Dr. Bayer's one.
Okay, I heard you saying page 90, yes, okay. Members, the recommendations have been read into the record. They are on page 246. May I get an indication that you support them with noting of those enhancements that have been highlighted by the members? By show of hand, members, please. Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. I do support. Thank you, Mr. Majola. Ms. Massetti?
I abstain on this one, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We move on to the next one. It's Majabeng Municipality. And Dade Ralufe, if you can take us through the application. It is on page 266 to 290, members. Over to you.
Good morning, Chairperson, and thank you. Good morning to everyone, members and everyone in the meeting. Chairperson, Majabeng Local Municipality is a municipality based in Free State, which is supplying 35,370 customers and also 1,143 indigents. Machabeng local municipality applied and submitted a new cost of supply to NERSA for following or rather taking the shape of the ESCOM retail tariff plan after the changes. And with regards to this application, the municipality indicated that it has consulted its customers. They've also brought us the attendance register, but as for customers' comments from their side, it never got to that point. But from NERSA's side, we consulted chairperson, and 108 stakeholder comments were received, and only 7 were substantive, even though others were just a repetition, like the very same submission will be sent by about 50 stakeholders. So saying one and the same thing. So that's how we have found them, and we have responded to the stakeholder comments. And chairperson, the municipality used the cost plus method in the compilation of their COS, and then straight to the RFD. The municipality is performing at a deficit of a 24.23% from 19.03% in the financial years 2023-24 and 2024-25. And with regards to the energy losses, chairperson, the energy losses have went up slightly from 25.88 to 26.49%, which is not tolerable, chairperson, and the revenue foregone from that, from the energy losses, it's 332.8 million, and it can also be attested by the table in the supplementary 2-pager. So, chairperson, going onwards, excuse me, going onwards, from the cost of supply which the municipality have submitted, they have applied for 1.2 billion of a revenue requirement, and through the assessment by NERSA, we realized that the municipality is carrying about 155 million of ESCOM's interest within that revenue requirement, and also a 2.2 million of the NMDs, which we adjusted. And then after adjustment, the revenue requirement got to 1.017 billion. Then, chairperson, everything was adjusted, and the adjustments were mainly done on the OPEX so that it addresses the revenue requirement. And straight, chairperson, following the directive from members about the impact on the impact after the adjustments, the outcome of the COS for the municipality reflected a cost reflectivity of 40.3% and a proposed average increase of 23%. But after those adjustments, chairperson, we then got to realize that the municipality only needs 11.3% as an average increase in rates, and also a cost reflectivity of 16.8%. Then, chairperson, table 5 in the submission reflects the stakeholder comments as well as the response by NERSA to the stakeholder comments. Then, chairperson, the going to the schedule of tariffs, the municipality have applied for 23% increase, which is the one that caused a lot of emails coming through objecting. Then, after the assessment we have done, and which led us to 11.3, we find it ideal that the municipality be granted a 11.3%. Chairperson, let me direct you to the recommendations emanating from the submission or the presentation that is currently in place. The tariffs are based on the cost of supply report approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by the municipality with effect from the 1st of July 2026. The cost of supply report submitted by the municipality be noted, and the municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in its cost of supply study to enable the regulator to perform an independent verification or audit process by 1st of January 2027. And then lastly, the municipality is required to submit a quarterly quarterly report on energy losses, which follows a smart principle for the regulator to monitor and implement thereof. And I thank you, Chairperson. With that presentation, I submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ralufe. Members, the recommendations have been read into the record, but before we consider them, let me check if we have any input to make in relation to this particular application on Mazabeng municipality. I don't see any hand, and the recommendations are on page 267, and they've been read into the record. Can I get an indication that members do support the recommendations as presented? Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. I do support. Thank you, Ms. Maseki. Thank you, Mr. Majola. The application or the recommendations on the applications are approved. We move on to the next one, which is Merafo Municipality. Ms. Mukhadima, over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, members. Good morning, colleagues, and good morning to the public. Merafo Local Municipality Tariff Application is based on new cost of supply. The cost of supply is based on cost plus methodology. The municipality is applying for average increase of 9.0%. To determine allowable revenue and a reasonable surplus, costs were verified against deformed trial balance and audited AFS. The costs were verified against the audited AFS. Shared cost directly attributed to electricity services was included in the revenue requirement to ensure that electricity consumers only bear costs linked to the provision of electricity services. We have identified ESCOM interest amount of 62.985 million that was verified against ESCOM invoices, and it was disallowed because it's inefficiency. The average tariff increase was 14% on COS. After inefficiency cost of 62.9.8 million was disallowed, it came to 12.2. However, the municipality opted for lower increase of 9.01. We have ensured that surplus is not overstated by aligning to electricity pricing policy position 1. We have allowed a surplus of 5%. However, the municipality applied for surplus of 8%. We have allowed a surplus that is below threshold because of high energy loss risk. If the municipality can reduce their energy loss to 12%, they will have a surplus of 12%, which is within threshold of 10 to 20%, and also additional revenue of 195 million. The municipality have applied for revenue of 900 million, and we have only allowed 840 million. The municipality purchases from ESCOM is 556 million and sales are at 357 million. They are recovering 64%. The cost of supplier confirms that the licensee has cross-subsidization between customer categories. The industrial customers are therefore subsidizing domestic and commercial customer, as indicated on rate design on figure 5. The municipality has indicated a commitment to a phased transition towards cost-reflective tariffs aligned with NERSA's objective of awaiting tariff shock while improving allocative efficiency over time. There is no NMD for this municipality. However, the municipality ESCOM bulk is not up to date. They have interest imposed for non-payment. In terms of performance indicators, the licensee financial and technical performance are not satisfactory as they operate with higher deficit and higher energy loss. On public participation, the application and COS were published on NERSA's website in line with regulatory requirements and no stakeholder objection were received. The municipality submitted its council resolution and proof of customer consultation with its tariff application to NERSA on 31 March 2026. No correspondence was received from municipality on the comments received. I therefore, Chair, recommend that the tariffs that are based on the COS study are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by the municipality with effect from 1 July 2026. The cost of supply study submitted by the municipality be noted. The municipality is required to submit a report accounting to all costs that have been noted in its COS study to enable the regulator to perform its independent verification or audit process by 31st January 2027. The municipality is required to submit quarterly smart energy losses reduction progress report for the regulator to monitor implementation, therefore, by commencing from 30 September 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mukhadima. Members, questions, issues of clarity that you may have on this application? I don't see any hand, but I think for me, you have indicated the fact that there is an interest charge on the non-payment or delay in the bulk account payment. And you are not stating in the supplementary two-pager that this amount have been disregarded, noting the fact that you did state that there was no NMD for this particular municipality. So if you can comment on whether in your assessment you did take into account or disregard the interest related to the delay or non-payment of the bank account. I see there's a hand from Mr. Mkiza. Mr. Mkiza.
Thanks, Chairperson. If I look at table 3, which deals with the performance indicators, a percentage deficit of 57.55% is it's concerning. With those energy losses, almost 39%. My concern is that, yes, we're dealing with this aspect now in terms of the tariff, but we are regulating the sector. And the question is, in this kind of a situation, what other processes kick in? Because one would say that if you recover less than 45%, in terms of your sales, and actually you need to pay interest and all of that, are you really a going concern? Just in the narrow space of electricity, especially noting that it was envisaged that the proceeds from electricity sales will actually assist municipalities and not be a burden. And now it's not working that way. And my question is, what other processes are kicking in? Would we allow this kind of a business to run and not necessarily deem it bankrupt? what are the issues that now we invoke? What other levers are being pulled to deal with this kind of situation? I just want to answer this question, and it applies to the rest, because I've looked at Suwalikwa and others, where really the energy losses are extremely high. The deficit is also extremely high, and we can't just deal with one aspect as if we're not responsible for the regulation of the whole sector. So I would just like to be advised around that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkiza. Ms. Maset.
Thank you, Chairperson. The first question, Chairperson, I would like to check maybe with the EM is whether we have thoroughly checked all of the what you call the comments that were received, the comments that are more than 2,000 that were received, because so far we are saying about 30 of the municipalities that we have considered, there were no comments relating to the applications made by these municipalities. I just want us to be certain about that, and that the team has actually checked so that there are no comebacks on this issue. And we ignore, comments made by stakeholders and when we take decisions. Otherwise, it will be a serious issue. We just want to be certain as we take the decisions that indeed, from the 2,000 plus comments, none have been that are relating to the 30 or so municipalities that we have considered. And then the other thing that I just wanted to check, I'm also a bit concerned about the 30% losses, 30 plus losses. So it is very important that we look into this deeply and make sure that we really put concrete measures to improve efficiency, so that the municipalities can also be in a position to recover revenue. I think that message must be loud and clear, that there must be revenue recovery from these from efficiencies, so of efficient operations. The other issue that the team seem not to be touching on, which is stated clearly in the framework, the cost of supply study framework, is that the tariffs must be, in as much as they say that the tariff must be cost reflective, there is another line there afterwards which says that as we determine the tariffs, we must take into consideration the technical as well as economic efficiencies into consideration. So when we look into these aspects that we are looking at, it's important that the team reflects on the technical efficiencies as well as economic efficiencies or economic gains that are derived from this. So I'm making that point, that statement clearly, because it is in the framework. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Masetti. And I just want to also make an emphasis on the issue of the energy losses. I think in most recommendations of the applications, I've noted the fact that the presenters are saying that on the energy losses, the minutes are required to provide plans on how they are going to address these energy losses and on a quarterly basis. But the question is, how do we monitor this? Because I think we need to get a report. We can't ask municipalities to provide the plans on a quarterly basis and therefore not be able to analyze them and submit the reports to the energy regulator to just get an indication as to how they are performing in addressing these losses, because they do impact on the revenue that they need. Because as we are considering them, I have not heard any indication as to in the comparing the losses of the previous year with the current one, and as well as the fact that they are being addressed in line with the plan. We're just indicating that previously it was so much and it has increased, and we're not saying whether this is aligned to the quarterly reports that we were getting in the previous year. So, Mr. Matebula, I think on this one, there's really a need for us to really deal with this particular issue, and I believe it may need a project and a dedicated team to deal with this particular monitoring of the plan submitted by municipalities on their energy losses, because we believe this is within their control. And even if it does impact on how what revenue they should get. And we also want to ensure that they remain viable in terms of really carrying out the distribution business. I will stop there and I think maybe take a question on the comments raised with regard to the 2000 comments received. And I think maybe I missed it in the previous presentation, because I had Mr. Zwanga saying there was 108 on my dubbing and 7 were substantive. And maybe I missed asking this as to whether those seven were dealt with properly, or we're still waiting for a municipal response on them. And I think Ms. Maseki was saying, based on the comments on the applications that we've already dealt with, we've dealt with those comments. And hence, I'm also bringing up this 7 in relation to Majaveng as well. It was dealt with. But I think going forward as well, Mr. Matebula assists us to ensure that which of the comments relates to any of the applications and how they have been dealt with, such that we do not get found wanting in terms of not having considered the public comments in the applications. Over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair, I think on our cover submission, if you look at paragraph 6, we have indicated, Chair, in terms of how we have tabled or analyzed the comments. Firstly, by indicating which municipalities these comments were relating to. So I think that in itself should give comfort that some work has happened in terms of us, firstly, accessing these comments as they were received and actually analyzing them. And if you look, Chair, you would see that we have indicated that so many were relating to a particular municipality and so much were relating. So I think it will be key that when those municipalities are presented, at least we can refer back to this page to see whether the presenter really talks to those or not. Majority of the comments, Chair, are linked to municipalities like Mkondo, Mohale City, and as they come, I think we can be able to deal with that. So I also indicated, Chair, or we indicated on this cover submission that about 678 were private comments, which were not related to a particular municipality, but were issues that dealt with affordability of electricity in general. So, Chair, I think we can use that as a reference point as we go through the municipalities. Thanks.
Yes, I think you're being general as well, but the point was in terms of all the municipalities that we have dealt with, any comments received from the members of the public have been dealt with or not. So if you cannot respond directly in terms of that question, please do provide us with the response in the next meetings. But I think the presenters, as they go along, they must highlight this to say that on this one, we got so many comments and they have been addressed. That is what Ms. Maseki was asking, because we have noted that general page in terms of the number and which municipalities they were coming from. But the point is, they were coming from certain municipalities, and the question is, did we deal with them adequately in considering the applications? I think that's the point that is being made. So, hence I had indicated with the previous one, which was the 108, we were told that 7 were substantive, but as I said, maybe the other members had what was the response, whether they were dealt with sufficiently or not. I missed that. But I think in the update report or progress report on this process, that particular point should also be covered. Thank you. I covered in terms of really trying to guide on how to deal with this. I don't know. Ms. Masetti, are you covered?
I'm covered, Chairperson, just to say that as you've put it very well, and I'm hoping that they are accurate when they say that for all of the municipalities, 30 or so that we have already considered, there are no specific comments made in relation to those municipalities. And it must be very clear that it would not be in the general covering submission only. It must form part and parcel of the analysis, must be incorporated in the analysis and be responded to or addressed, and it must also appear in the RFDs. What are the nature of the issues or comments received in each application? Thank you.
I think that guidance is clear. I won't add on to it. And on Mirafo members, just to be reminded, I don't recall us voting on the recommendations. They were read.
Excuse me, Chair.
Sorry?
Excuse me, Chair. My question is not responded to.
Oh,
I want to know what other processes kick in when we've got this kind of a situation. Because as a regulator, it would be very much remiss of us if we don't attend to this by also invoking other legal provisions or regulatory instruments or levers to address this kind of a situation, because it's untenable as things stand.
Sorry, Mr. Sorry, Mr. Mkiza, I was joking. Your point is relating to also public comments as well.
No, it's not related to public comments. You've got a municipality here that is actually, as a licensee, one could argue that it is not a going concern. If one looks at the figures and everything, the trends, what do we do about such? That's what I'm not getting. I would like to understand that, because to narrowly look at a tariff and forget about the bigger aspects that go with it, and what other responsibilities was supposed as a regulator to take or put into effect with such a kind of a situation.
Okay, Ms. Mokhadima on the table, if you can come in. I think the point is similar to what was highlighted. I think one of the presenters, was it Ms. Masike on the Palestine, to say that the business was not viable to an extent that the municipality has accepted this and they are in an engagement with ESCOM to take over the supply in the next financial year. Over to you, you may come in.
Yeah, Chair. Yeah, I think on this, Chair, obviously being guided by our roles and responsibility as a regulator, obviously this process that we are undergoing now, it becomes one of the processes that we need to use to ensure that we do not unnecessarily compensate the non-performance or poor performance of the municipality. However, Chair, we also conduct audits on all our licensees, though at this point, obviously the rate it's lower than expected. And with those, Chair, we mainly check matters relating to compliance to license conditions and requirements of the license that are granted to those particular municipalities. And that as well, Chair, it's a process that allows us to be able to deal with the issues of non-compliance, and as such, Chair, the process then unfolds to the tribunal, and it continues in that manner. So Chair, however, if hence Chair, the first the recommendations that we are giving to the RSC indicates that we would like to first give an opportunity to the municipality to indicate how they plan to recover or deal with these losses. And obviously they will give us a plan, and we will obviously look at the compliance of that plan and whether the plan is effective. And Chair, we can then take it from there. But I think it is necessary that they are given the opportunity to deal with the matter. Thank you.
Yeah, I note the response, but it still, through you, still does not leave me comfortable that we are really stringent when it comes to compliance enforcement. Because we've got the facts before us, and we need to be able to move with speed in terms of this. Because even the other one, if it shouldn't be to be left unto them to decide that they want to now bring ESCOM on to assist. When they are failing in terms of the conditions, they must be taken to task, because we cannot be also contributing to the general perception that we've got good laws and all of that, but we're not enforcing them as we should. And from our side, there is a area of enforcement that we should really exercise. I would really look at that part of enforcement going forward from my side. Thank you.
So would you support the suggestion, Mr. Mkiza, that maybe we stand this application down and allow the team to engage with the municipalities to just address that particular point? Because it is quite critical, because for us to approve when they're not really viable and there's no indication of a plan. Ms. Masita was still on the floor. I don't know when you say no, it relates to what? Mr. Mkiza, to stand it down and get that information, because in the previous application, the applicant indicated that they are negotiating on a takeover. Just think of that particular point, a suggestion, Mr. Mkiza, so that we can guide the team. Let me take Ms. Maseti. She wanted to say something.
Maybe if I may respond to that, ma'am. I don't think that we should necessarily stand it down from the point of view that what I'm asking for, let us not look at things narrowly. We've got the facts before us. Let us act on the basis of that in terms of being seen to be exercising our duties in terms of enforcement, monitoring and enforcement. And let us go all the way in terms of enforcing. If it means that the license must be revoked, it should be revoked following due process anyway. But we need to see those things being put in place. So we can have this approved as a tariff, but then start this other process. And this is where I've got a problem when I don't see clarity around the other process. And that is all really I just want to say, because we've got everything before us and we need to be able to take action. Thank you.
So for different view, Ms. Maseti, you may come. Your hand was up. I see it's down.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm sorry if I disturbed you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I think we would not have sufficient ground to refuse the application, because the municipality still exists. As of other measures for its sustainability or the licensing issues, I think we can treat it on a different section of the law, invoke those specific provisions of the law in respect of that. But as of now, let us confine ourselves to the regulatory, discretion that is required in terms of Section 14 read with Section 15 of the Electricity Regulation Act. So let us just confine our mandate to that. And with regards to licensing, and also maybe part of the conditions of license, we can look at that, at the enforcement aspect of it, and have sufficient evidence proving that this municipality is not doing what it is supposed to do and not complying with the obligations of the license. So for now, I would say that let's take a decision solely based on the information and facts that are before us for purposes of Section 15, and then the other sections of the Act can be looked into and be invoked. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. That's noted. I wasn't saying that, maybe I'm being misunderstood. I wasn't saying that we mustn't consider the application. What I had said was that, or what I was trying to say was that, let's defer it and get a response on the Munich in terms of that point that relates to them being capable to conduct or carry on with the business. That's all that I was saying. And then once we get a response on that, we are still going to consider it on the facts and the relevant sections that are provided to us, because that is a critical point, because we can't be seen to be approving a tariff on an entity that we do know that it's not going to be really viable at a later stage. That was the point when I said, let's stand it down. It was just to get an understanding on that particular point. But if members feel that we must consider this application as presented, it is fine, but we can add in terms of our decision that we would want them to urgently address that concern that we have in terms of their performance, which we believe they're not performing efficiently and or they're unable to really run the business. So that is the conditions that I would want us to add if we're not standing down the application. Thank you so much. Members, on that note, can we just vote the recommendations on page 292, beg your pardon, to 293? They have been read into the record, and I would like to get an indication that members support that first, and secondly, that the support is in addition to getting information from the Munich in terms of how they are going to be addressing that concern that we have picked up in this particular application. By show of hand, please, members, can I get an indication that you do support it? Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. I support as well. I don't see a hand from Mr. Majola and Ms. Masetti.
From my side, Chairperson, I was going to ask that the team be the one that leads because this is not it's not a matter that must depend or hang on or be dependent on the municipality. We have picked this up and we believe we have got very strong concerns on it. So the team must undertake an exercise that invokes the relevant provisions of the Act, as we are concerned about the viability, and provide a report. Thank you, Chair.
I think that's exactly what I was saying. We consider the recommendation, we add the fact that the municipality needs to address that particular issue that has been raised by members as a concern. I did get a hand from Mr. Mkhize and Mr. Majola. I do support, and on your side, Ms. Masetti. On that note, I do not see a hand from Ms. Masetti. We do have a majority of members approving the application from Mirafong. We move on to the next one, which is Musika Ligwa. Ms. Nkopo, over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Ligwa has also revised its COS, and this is to link its cost with the ESCOM unbundling of its tariffs. The revenue requirement from Ms. Ligwa was determined using the cost plus methodology in accordance with the NERSA COS framework. The costs were verified, especially the bulk purchases were verified against ESCOM invoices. Electricity-related OPEX was also tested against the deforms, trial balance, and audited financial statements. Only prudently incurred and efficiently verified costs supplemented by a reasonable surplus margin are recommended for approval. The asset value of the municipality is 365 million with a depreciation of 18 million, and these were extracted from the municipality's audited AFS for cost verification purposes. The analysis highlights an interest paid to Eskom of 42 million, which was identified as an inefficient cost, and it rose from delayed bulk payments within the municipality's control and could have been mitigated. These costs were disallowed in the analysis and excluded from the allowable cost base. After excluding the 42 million in interest charges and the value of the losses of 266 million, the revenue requirement decreased from 700 million to around 434 million. The reason for the energy losses being reduced, the municipality has high energy losses of around 60.76%. So the municipality's bulk purchase amounted to 402 million, which amounts to 208 megawatts, but the electricity only collected an amount of around 258 million, supporting only 76 megawatts sales, which means approximately 143 million of the bulk purchase cost was not recovered. This reflects a revenue recovery rate of about 64%, whereas 35.8% was not recovered from the electricity sales. And then if losses were kept at 12%, the municipality would have a net revenue of about 236 million, and the deficit would have reduced from 55% to 0.9%. And then when we talk to the shared costs, it can be confirmed that the costs were ring-fenced and allocated to the electricity business of the municipality. And this verification was done against the trial balance and the audited financial statements. Cross-subsidization amongst the customers is still there within the commercial industrial customers, whereby they are subsidizing the residential customers. The municipality will need to develop a cross-subsidization framework to address the cost subsidization issues in a transparent and fair manner. Compliance with Section 18.7 of the COS framework has been verified, whereby the bulk Eskom purchases increased by 9%, OPEX by CPI-linked assumptions, and the adjustments were supported by the due forms. With regards to the compliance to PAJA, NERSA complied by publishing the application on its website and then invited written stakeholder comments, and no objections were received for this application. The municipality conducted its own public consultation process, and then no correspondence was received from the municipality and on the comments received. And then when we conclude with regards to the COS, the study reflects a cost reflectivity average increase of 14.3%, and the municipality proposed a 13.01 phase-in increase to balance financial sustainability with customer affordability. However, given the municipality's high level of energy losses of 60.76%, the proposed tariff increase was adjusted down from 13.01% to 9.01%, so that the municipality can be able to pay for its bulk purchases, and also to refrain from overcompensating the municipality for inefficiencies. This leads to the reduction of the revenue requirement from 434 million to 414 million, which relates to the 9.1% increase. Chairperson, the recommendations are on page 314. The tariffs that are based on the cost of supply study of the cost of supply report are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by the municipality with effect from 1st July. The cost of supply report submitted by the municipality noted. The municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted on its cost of supply study to enable the regulator to perform its independent verification process by 31st January 2027. The municipality is required to submit quarterly smart energy losses reduction progress reports for the regulator to monitor implementation thereof by 29 January 2027. I would like to also indicate that, Chairperson, that all comments that have been raised on the performance of the municipality have been noted, Chairperson, and will be considered accordingly. Thank you, Chair.
Ms. Nkopo, members, any comments, issues, or point of enhancements on this particular application? Please, if you have any, do raise your hand so that we can be recognized. Ms. Masiti.
My question, Chair, is on these comments. I won't be able to approve the application from my side because the comments have not been considered, and the constitutional obligation is that we must consider the comment. So it cannot be that the comments are noted. That is completely wrong and unlawful. Thank you.
Thank you. Any member, maybe Ms. Nkopo, any comments? Or rather your response in terms of the comments, whether, let me leave it at that. Your comments on the point raised by Ms. Masiti?
Chairperson, I indicated that stakeholder comments were not received for the municipality, but what I was saying, noting the comments of the members based on the performance of the municipality, since it has high energy losses of 60% and operating at a deficit of 55%. So that's what I was noting as from the members' comments. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Maybe just to be clear, on the municipal side, you're indicating that there were no comments received. On the NERSA side, what was the status? On the public advertisement of the application?
Also, Chairperson, from the NERSA side, no comments were received for this application.
Okay.
And then from the municipality side, we didn't receive any correspondence on whether they did receive any comments during the IDP consultation process.
Okay, all right. Ms. Maseti, I think you have in the past sessions indicated that the comments on the municipal side is part of the municipal responsibility. And what we need as NERSA is to just get an indication that there were comments and that they were received. And there seems to have been no indication in terms of Ms. Nkopo's presentation. On the NERSA side, she is indicating that there were no comments received when we advertised the application. You may come in. I see your hand is up.
Yes, my hand is up, Chair, because she stated that the comments are noted and will be considered. So I am taking that statement that she's putting on record. And I'm saying that that's why I said that if those comments have not been considered or just noted, then I won't be able to take a decision. That's all that I was saying, Chairperson. So if she's putting on record now to say that we received no comments for this application, then that is something else. Thanks, Chair.
Ms. Popo, just read your recommendations again. They are on RFDs, paragraph on page 315. Please, if you can repeat them and maybe correct what you would have said earlier on. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. The tariffs are the recommendations read as follows. The tariffs are based on the cost of supply report are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by the municipality with effect from 1st July 2026. The cost of supply report submitted by the municipality be noted. The municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted on its COS study and to enable the regulator to perform its independent verification process by 31st January 2027. The municipality is required to submit a quarterly smart energy losses reduction progress report for the regulator to monitor implementation thereof by 29 February 2027. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Nkopo, with that clarification as well on the public participation process. And Ms. Masiti, I hope you are covered. And I would like to take members to a vote in terms of the RFD that are read into the record. They are on 315. Mr. Mkize, your hand is it for voting or question?
No, the thing is that I do vote in support. It's not a problem. But what I wanted to come in on is looking at table 4, those percentage deficit, and then the percentage also on energy losses. The same applies as to the previous one, the one we just voted on. I don't want to repeat through all of them that are like this. the issue of enforcement should weigh in. And I think that Madam Gopo was talking to that in terms of the other comments that have come through from us. And I don't want us to leave that one out. I do support. I've raised my hand. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And please, presenters, do take note of that particular point in your presentation. And thank you, Mr. Mkhize. Members, recommendations, and we are now voting for the recommendations. Thank you, Mr. Majola. Thank you, Ms. Maseti. I also support. We then move on to the next application. It is from Tabazimbi Municipality. And Tate Modise, please do note the points raised by members in the other applications that you have considered. Over to you, Tate Modise.
Thank you, Chairperson. I would like to take members to paragraph 3.1, which indicate that the municipality submitted their application on 31st March 2026 with a revised cost of supply study, which they were incorporating the approved ESCOM NERSA into their own bulk cost. In compliance with the PAJA, NERSA published the application to solicit comment, and the municipality undertook its public participation, and no comment were received by both parties. The municipality is applying for an average increase of 10.5 for the financial year 2026-27. The municipality financially and technically, they are improving, as indicated by the energy losses that are going down and the deficits that are going down. The reason the energy losses are going down, the municipality implemented the plans on reduction of energy losses. Moving on to the methodology that was used, the cost plus methodology was used, and the asset value from the annual financial statement show a figure of 1.5 billion, whereas the depreciation is sitting at 2%. Chairperson, I'd like to highlight that the straight line depreciating method was used over the lifespan of the asset, which is in line with the approved CO framework. The study was analyzed and it is in line with the framework. The costs were verified against audited financial statement, trial balance, deform, which is a reporting tool that isolates the electricity division data from the rest of the business unit. In assessing the cost, the main focus was to identify inefficiency, which is on green page 361. The bulk purchase for the period under review of 89 million. We looked at the latest available data, which is the deform for 2024-25, and the information was used to check for penalties, interest on outstanding debt, which none were found. Bad debts, Chairperson, is sitting at 4%, which is below a norm of 5%. And we further looked at the energy losses. When the municipality was doing the projection, in 2024-25, the actual energy losses were at 10%. However, when they were doing the projection, they were projecting the sales of 49.2 gigawatt hour and were matched against the purchase of 56 to estimate the energy losses. And this exercise, Chairperson, is showing that the municipality is budgeting for 14% energy losses, where the losses were kept at 12%. However, given the guidance from Ms. Maseti, we also did a test to say if they are kept at a single digit. If they were kept at a single digit, then the deficit of 3.57 was going to turn into a surplus of 10.47. When we look at the cross-subsidy, Chairperson, we realize that in the current proposal, the industrial and the commercial will continue to subsidize the domestic, both prepaid and conventional. And moving on to the result, which can be found on figure 5 on a green page 365. And Chairperson, the result of the cost of supply study, which are on green page 365, are that for municipality to reach cost reflectivity, 10.5% is required, which is exactly what the municipality is applying for. And the energy reduction, if what if scenario was performed? As I indicated earlier, the municipality will operate at a surplus, not a deficit, if they kept the energy losses within the single digit. In recommendation, Chairperson, on page 347, we are recommending that tariff based on cost of supply report are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by the municipality with effect from 1 July. We also recommend for cost of supply report submitted by the municipality to be noted. And also, the third recommendation is the municipality being required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in its cost of supply to enable the regulator to do independent verification. And lastly, Chairperson, we are requiring the municipality to submit the quarterly smart energy loss reduction plan so that the municipality can achieve a single digit energy losses. I thank you, Chairperson.
Mr. Medise, members, any questions, issues of clarity or points of enhancements in relation to this application from Tabazimbi municipality? If you have any, please do raise your hand so that you can be recognized. I do not see any hand, and members, the recommendations have been read into the records. They are actually on RFD page 348. Can I, by show of hand, get an indication that you support the recommendations as presented for this particular application? Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. I do support. And the other members, thank you, Ms. Masetti, Mr. Majola. Okay, we do have the majority of members approving. Thank you, Mr. Majola. I see your hand is up now. And we move on to application, the next application, which is Fles by municipality. Ms. Matumbu, over to you.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members, colleagues, and the public. Flisby is a private distributor situated in the Western Cape and has applied for an average tariff increase of 8.76 in line with the approved ERSA for non-municipal key industrial and urban customers. Chairperson, the application is supported by an existing cost of supply, which the private distributor applied the cost plus methodology in determining its revenue requirement. However, unlike municipalities, the private distributor has no surplus or profit margin included, as it aims to operate on a break-even basis. From a financial and technical perspective, the distributor is operating at a deficit of 33.29, which is primarily due to the increased bulk costs and maintenance expenditure and the energy losses of 9.15 as per the audited 24-25 financials. As per section 18.7 of the cost of supply framework, tariff adjustments are required that an annual price adjustment must be index-based and cost-driven. Therefore, a cost structure was used for this tariff application, which is table 4 on the RFD. Customers are charged strictly in line with the ESCOM bulk purchase costs, and any surplus that may arise is refunded back to customers at the end of the financial year. So there is no risk of overstated surplus that is detriment to the customers, as tariffs are purely on a cost recovery base. Chairperson, the tariff application is fully aligned with the cost of supply framework and electricity pricing policy position 1, as it reflects cost reflective tariffs, no profit margin, and a direct pass-through of efficient costs. There are no cross subsidies within the tariff structure, as all customers are charged on a uniform cost reflexive basis, and it's purely domestic customers. The distributor's account with Eskom is fully up to date with no NMD exceedances or interest charged on areas. Chairperson, the application was published on the NERSA website and together with its cost of supply, and we received no objections from the NERSA side. The private distributor indicated that it because customers are charged what Eskom what ERTA the ERTA approval, so it saw no purpose for conducting customer consultations with them because it is only the Eskom bulk that is charged onto the customers. And based on that, Chairperson, it is recommended that the energy regulator approve the tariff set out on with implementation effective from 1 October 2026, and the private distributor will be required to submit a detailed report on its cost of supply inputs to support the energy regulators to perform its independent verification process. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Matumbu. I think we need to just correct one point before I allow members to come in. To refer to Vleesbaai as a municipality, it is a private distributor. I think the list indicate that as a private, as a municipality, and it's not. And again, I think in some of the analysis that is there, we're referring to it as a private, as a municipality instead of private distributor, Ms. Matumbu, for example, where you're dealing with the verification of the information, we are using a municipality in terms of private distributor. I just thought that let's just be consistent so that we do not cause any confusion. With that, request on the correction of how we refer to this particular licensee, let me take comments or issues of inputs from the members in relation to the application. Members, any issue that you may have on this application? I do not see any hand, and I think the recommendations have been read into the record. They are on pages 371 to 372. By show of hand, members, can I get an indication that you support these this particular licensee's application? Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. Thank you, Mr. Vajola. I do. And thank you, Ms. Masiti. We move on to the next application. I think we'll deal with it as attached, as a separate application, because there was a challenge that was indicated at the beginning of the meeting, and that is the Breda Valley application. There was a loading of Musukalingwa, and that has been corrected. Can we then proceed and deal with Breda Valley Munich? And Ms. Matumbu, this is yours as well. Over to you.
Thank you once again, Chair. Breda Valley is a municipality situated in the Western Cape province, and it has applied for an average tariff increase of 9.01. The application is supported by an existing cost of supply study, which used the cost plus methodology and not the rate of return methodology. The municipality submitted its council resolution and proof of having conducted customer consultation together with its application to NERSA, and no correspondence regarding objections received from the municipality side was submitted to NERSA. The application was further published on the NERSA website in accordance with the prescribed process, and we received no objections. From a financial and technical perspective, the municipality demonstrate a stable performance as it recorded a surplus of 4.27 and low energy losses of 7.36, which indicates a prudent financial management and operational efficiency as per the audited 2024-25 financials. The cost of supply, Chairperson, indicated that for the municipality to reach cost reflectivity, tariffs must be increased by 30%. However, the municipality adopted a phased-in implementation of 3 years period to gradually align their tariffs with the cost of supply outcomes to mitigate tariff shock. The tariff structure also reflected cross-subsidization, where higher consuming commercial and industrial customers subsidize residential customers, and the municipality is encouraged to develop a cross-subsidization framework to objectively address the cross-subsidization issues in a transparent and fair manner. Chairperson, for the application, a cost adjustment tool was used, and the allowable revenue, I would like to refer the members to Table 4 of the RFD, which is page 15 of 37, which highlights the results of the tool. The allowable revenue for 26-27 was derived from efficient and prudent operating costs of 835 million, depreciation of 18 million, and a surplus of 63 million, which translates to a 7% margin. To ensure that the surplus is reasonable and was not overstated, the 7% was tested against the NERSA cost of supply framework, and although it lies below the benchmark of 10 to 20, it is, however, in line with the EPP position 1. And in addition, the surplus was assessed against the key risk factors, which include revenue collection risks such as non-payment and bad debts, operational risk including energy losses and aging infrastructure, and the need to maintain financial sustainability of the electricity function. The municipality has no ESCOM areas or interest charged and no NMD penalties. Thus, this ensures that customers are not burdened with avoidable costs. While the surplus, Chairperson, is below the benchmark, it is considered appropriate and justified in this circumstance because the municipality demonstrates relatively stable operational performance, manageable energy losses, and no material financial risks as ESCOM areas or penalties or charges. Furthermore, affordability consideration and the need to mitigate tariff shock support a more moderate margin. So accordingly, the 7% surplus strikes an appropriate balance between ensuring financial stability and protecting customers. Chairperson, while the cost adjustment tool indicates that the municipality should increase its tariffs by an average of 13.11 as highlighted in Table 4, the municipality opted to apply for a 9.01 increase across all tariff categories to ensure that the recovery of the efficient cost, it mitigates tariff shocks and it protects its customers, particularly the vulnerable households. Accordingly, Chairperson, the REC is recommended to approve the tariffs as based on the COS and for the municipality to implement by effective from 1 July 2026. The cost of supply reports submitted by the municipality be noted. The municipality is further requested to submit a report accounting for all costs that have been noted in its cost of supply to enable the regulator to perform its independent verification process. Thank you, Chair.
Tumbu, members, any questions, issues of clarity or points of enhancements in relation to this application from Regulator Munich? If you have any, please do raise your hand so that we can be recognized. Members? I don't see any hand. I don't have any issues from my side on that note. The recommendations have been read into the record. May I get an indication that members support the recommendations as presented by show of hand? Thank you, Mr. Mkize. I do support. Thank you, Mr. Majola. Others, thank you, Ms. Nasedi. We then move on to the next one, which is the City of Matlosana Municipality. Ms. Maputi.
Good day, Chairperson, members and colleagues. I would like to take you through the City of Matlosana Local Municipality. The City of Matlosana Local Municipality 2026-27 tariff application is based on an existing cost of supply study. The study is valid for 5 years and has been adjusted to reflect key cost drivers for 26-27 financial year in line with Section 18 of the cost of supply framework. In terms of the revenue requirement, Table 4 of the City of Matlosana, Chairperson, Table 4 on page 433 of 636 for the City of Matlosana Municipality was determined using a cost-plus approach in line with the NERSA cost of supply framework. Allowable revenue was built up from verified bulk purchases, and electricity operating cost was also verified against the 24-25 deformed trial balance and audited annual financial statement. Chairperson, only efficient and prudent incurred costs for this particular license, incurred costs with a reasonable surplus are recommended for approval. The asset value and the depreciation was extracted from the municipality audited annual financial statement for cost verification purpose as outlined in the supplementary 2-pager. To ensure that surplus is aligned to risk and compliant with legislation such as EPP and the cost of supply framework, a key requirement for NERSA cost of supply framework is that only efficient and prudent incurred costs may be passed through to tariff. In compliance with this requirement, Chairperson, during verification of the cost against the trial balance and deform and also the AFS, NERSA identified interest of about 105 million due to ESCOM. However, this cost was not included in the application by the licensee. The municipality, I just want to also mention that this licensee is under debt relief program, and it's now in its second year of debt relief compliance cycle. If the losses, Chairperson, were kept around 12, the municipal deficit would have reduced from 34% to a surplus of 11.62, improving their net revenue to around 203 million. To ensure the surplus is aligned with the level of risk associated with the municipal surplus margin, the municipality applied 13% and was benchmarked against the established target of 10 to 20 on the approved NERSA framework. The inclusion of the reasonable surplus is to ensure continuity of the electricity supply by the licensee and gradually by the licensee, Chairperson. In terms of the performance indicators, the licensee financial and technical performance is not satisfactory, as highlighted by high energy losses and high deficit. With regard to the share cost, the costs were verified against the deformed trial balance and the audited AFS to ensure that they relate only to electricity function of the licensee. With regard to cross-subsidization, in the absence of the cross-subsidy framework, the Munich is applying increase of 9.5 across. With regard to the compliance with the public participation, NERSA complied with Section 10 of PAJA by publishing the application on its website, social media, and other relevant newspapers. No objection were received, Chairperson. The municipality also conducted its public consultation process in line with its council-approved budget process, and proof of consultation was submitted. No correspondence was received from the municipality on the comments received. Chairperson, the cost drivers indicates that full cost reflectivity require an average increase of 9.87 for 26-27 tariff review. And the Munich is proposing 9.5 increase to balance financial sustainability with customer affordability, considering also customer affordability. The Munich chairperson, while the cost of supply signal the increase of 9.87, the Munich is applying 9.5. Recommendation reads as follows. The tariff are based on the cost drivers are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by the municipality with effect from 1 July 2026. The cost drivers submitted by the Munich be noted. The municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all costs that have been noted in its cost driver to enable the regulator to perform its independent verification and audit process by 31 January 2027. And the Munich is required to continue to monitor the plans put in place in reducing high energy losses and submit the progress report to NERSA on quarterly basis starting from 30 September 2026. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Mapitsing. Please mute. So we note that you are not well. Members, any comments, issues of clarity or points of enhancements on this particular application? I think noting the fact that on the public participation part, there were no comments received on NERSA side, and on the municipality side, there's an indication that there was none that was done by the Munich in terms of consulting the public. Members, any comments, points of enhancements? I don't see any hand. On that note, members, the recommendations have been read into the record. They are on pages 420 to 421. By show of hand, can I get an indication that the members support the recommendation, and also for the record to just show that on the municipal side, there were no consultation. Thank you. Mr. Majola, Mr. Mkiza, I support, and Ms. Masetti, I did not see your hand. We will then move on to the next application, which is Mamusa Municipality. Ms. Mokadima, over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, members, colleagues, and stakeholders. The 2026-27 tariff application of Mamusa is based on the existing cost of supplier. The study is valid for 5 years, has been adjusted to reflect key cost drivers for 26-27 financial year, in line with Section 18.7 of the COS framework. The licensee's cost drivers are based on the cost plus methodology, and the licensee tariffs are set to identify allowable costs by supplying electricity and adding a reasonable surplus. The costs were verified against the audited financial statement. Shared costs directly attributed to electricity services was included in the revenue requirement to ensure that electricity consumer only bear costs linked to the provision of electricity services. The municipality have applied for revenue of 98 million. After the analysis, we have allowed 93 million. We have identified ESCOM interest amount of 16 million that was verified against ESCOM invoices, and it was disallowed because of inefficiency. The average tariff increase that municipality applied for based on the cost structure was 13%. After inefficiency were disallowed, it came to 9.04. However, the municipality opted for lower increase of 9.01. We have ensured that surplus is not overstated by aligning to electricity policy position 1. Risks linked to this surplus were operational risk, the high energy loss of 33.96%, poor level of revenue collection as collection rate is sitting on 64%, and also bad debts of 469. Inefficiency also of interest paid to ESCOM of 16 million were disallowed. We are saying that all these inefficiencies were disallowed. If the municipality can reduce their energy loss to 12%, they will still have a deficit of 8%. However, if the municipality can keep their ESCOM account up to date and pay no interest, they will have a 14% surplus. The municipality has applied for a surplus of 9%, And after disallowing all this inefficiency, we allowed 5%. The cost structure, the COS study confirmed that the licensee has cross subsidies between customer. The commercial customer subsidized domestic customer. The municipality has indicated a commitment to a phased transition toward cost-reflective tariffs, aligned with NERSA objective of avoiding tariff shock while improving allocative efficiency over time. With regard to NMD, there's no NMD for this municipality. And then with regard to ESCOM, this municipality or ESCOM, and they are also paying interest for this interest on ESCOM debt account. In terms of performance indicators, the licensee financial indicators and technical performance are not satisfactory as they are operating with high deficit and higher energy loss. With regard to public participation, the application and COS were published on NERSA website in line with regulatory requirements, and no stakeholder objections were received. The municipality submitted its council resolution and proof of customer consultation together with
that you mentioned. And can you give us the date
NERSA on 35
that you assumed that position? Paragraph 31.
Correspondence was received from the municipality on the comments received. We therefore recommend that we recommend that the tariffs that are based on the COS study are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by the municipality with effective from 1 July 2026. The cost of supply study submitted by the municipality be noted. The municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in its COS study to enable the regulator to perform its independent verification or audit process by 31st January 2027. The municipality is required to submit quarterly smart energy losses reduction progress report for the regulator to monitor implementation. Therefore, by commencing from 30 September 2026. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Mkhadima. Members, any questions, issues of clarity or points of enhancements that you may have on this particular application? I see Mr. Mkize is fine with the application and that is noted. I am fine as well. And members, if there are no issues, please do indicate your recommendation, noting Mr. Mkize's support and my Mr. Majola, thank you. Ms. Maseti. I don't see any hand from Ms. Maseti, so the application is supported by a majority of the members. Thank you, Ms. Mkhadima. We move on to Makwasi Hills Municipality. Ms. Kwadi, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairperson, members, colleagues, and public. Makwasi Hills Local Municipality for 2026-27 tariff application is based on the existing COS, and the study is because the study is valid for 5 years, and it has been adjusted to reflect the key cost drivers for the 2026-27 financial year in line with Section 18.7 of the COS framework. The revenue requirements in Table 4, page 469 of 636. For Makwasi Hills was determined using the cost plus methodology in accordance with the NERSA COS framework. The actual figures, which is for the 24-25, we verified using ESCOM invoices and the verified electricity related operating costs tested against the 24-25 deformed trial balance and audited AFS. And then only prudently incurred and efficiently verified cost supplemented by a reasonable surplus margin are recommended for approval. The municipalities do owe ESCOM and have a payment plan in place to try to cap this ESCOM debt. The asset value is at 52 billion. And the depreciation at 3 million is extracted from the municipality's AF for cost verification purposes. To ensure that surplus is aligned to risk and complied with legislation and electricity pricing policy, position 1, and the COS framework. A core regulatory under the COS framework is that only efficient and prudently incurred costs may be passed through to tariffs. In compliance with this principle from COS framework, the municipality had an interest paid to ESCOM for 12 million, which was identified as an inefficiency, which arose from delaying bulk payments within the municipality control and could have been mitigated through proactive management. Hence, these costs were disallowed in the analysis and excluded from the allowable cost base. And then the municipality also have the NMD penalties of 48 million, and it was also identified as an inefficiency. As it also arises from the municipality exceeding the agreed NMD with ESCOM, and this could have been mitigated between the two parties, ESCOM and the municipalities, and it's not. It does not have to be to be passed through to customers to pay for their inefficiencies. All the adjustments were supported by the deformed trial balance and audited AFS, subject to reasonability checks. For the surplus to be adequate with the risk associated with the municipality, the applied surplus margin of 9% for 26-27 financial year, as indicated in Table 4 of the RFD, was benchmarked against the established targeted ranges of 10-20% on the approved NERSA COS framework, EPP policy position 1. Makwasi Health's margin therefore sits below the lower bound of the framework ranges and is not excessive or on the detriment of the consumers. The municipality indicated that it is facing high non-payment in the area, which is below 50%, and there are court cases regarding this issue to ensure that everyone pay for their electricity used. Furthermore, the revenue requirements reflect a total revenue of 126 billion after all identified inefficiencies where it is allowed. Before taking out the inefficiencies, the cost to serve recommends an average of increase of 11.24 and a total revenue of 130 million. However, after taking out inefficiencies, cost to serve recommends the 8.71% increase for the licensee, but the municipality is proposing 8.9 increase to review its tariff with their basic charges for all customers increasing by 3.4%. In terms of the performance indicators considering the 24-25 financial year audited financial information, the licensee financial and technical performances are not satisfactory as the municipality operated at a deficit and high energy losses as indicated on Table 3 on page 467 of 634. If the municipality were to reduce its energy losses to 12% or less, the municipality will have a deficit of 0.08 and an additional foregone revenue of 14 million. The municipality regarding this issue indicated that the energy losses currently for the 25-26 financial year are sitting at 12.43, which is an improvement. And this will reflect in the next financial year. The municipality also mentioned the risk factors for these inefficiencies, including unpayment, theft of electricity, and other settlements not metered. The municipality is also in the process of changing the service providers to roll out smart meters, meter all households, change underground cables to overhead cable, and also change cables to aluminium. Regarding the shared costs, all shared municipal costs were ring-fenced and strictly allocated to the electricity distribution function using the deformed allocation methodology consistent with the COS requirements. Verification against the trial balance and audited AFS confirmed that only electricity-related costs were included in the revenue requirements. The COS also confirmed that there is an existence of cross-subsidization with commercial and industrial consumers effectively subsidizing residential customers. But we had communication with the municipalities and they promised that in the next financial year, 27-25, 27-28 financial year, the municipality is committed to reviewing and updating its COS and restructuring its tariff structures to promote cost reflectivity, ensuring that each customer category pays in line with the actual cost of supply without placing undue financial burden on the other customer group. Regarding compliance, NERSA complied with Section 10 of PAJA by publishing the application on its website, social media platform, and national and local newspapers, inviting written stakeholder comments by 21st April 2026, and no objection were received. On the side of the municipality, the tariff were approved by council, but the consultation process will be commencing this week. Municipality confirmed that. The recommendations are on page 457 and 456 of 636 and are read as follows. The tariffs that are based on this, the cost drivers are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by the municipality with effect from 1st July 2026. The cost drivers submitted by the licensee be noted. The licensee is required to submit a report accounting for all costs that have been noted to enable the energy regulator to perform its independent verification audit process by 31st January 2027. And the municipality is required to continue to monitor the blends put in place in reducing these high energy losses and submit progress report to NERSA by 30 September 2026. And lastly, also I'll be taking into account all other enhancements and as guided by the members. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Khwadi. Members, any questions, issues of clarity or points of enhancements on this particular application? I don't see any hand. Members, the recommendations that are on page 457 to 456 have been read into the record. Can I get an indication that you do support the recommendations as read out? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. I do support. Thank you, Mr. Majola. Ms. Matseti. Thank you. The application is approved. Ms. Khwadi, we move on to the next one, which is Namakwa Municipality. Ms. Mafiti, over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Namakwa Municipality, its tariff application is based on its existing cost of supplies 3. The study is valid for 5 years and has been adjusted to reflect key cost drivers for 26-27 financial year in line with Section 18.7 of the cost of supply framework. The revenue requirement table, the revenue requirement in table 4 was determined using the cost plus methodology in accordance with NERSA cost of supply framework. The allowable revenue was established through a build-up costs, and it's aligned with the cost of supply framework. Costs were built up from verified bulk purchases and verified electricity. The operating costs were tested against the 24-25 D forms, turbulence, and audited financial statement. Only prudently incurred and efficiently verified costs supplemented by a reasonable surplus margin are recommended for approval. In terms of the asset value and the depreciation, Chairperson, was extracted from the EFS for cost verification purpose as outlined in the 2-pager supplementary. To ensure that surplus is aligned to risk and compliant with legislation, the electricity pricing policy and the cost of supply, to ensure that surplus is aligned to risk and comply with the legislation, the following were considered. The municipality excluded the NMD penalty cost from the total cost on the basis that these costs are within its control and should be recovered directly from the customers responsible for the exceedance. Chairperson, if the losses were kept at 12, the municipal deficit will reduce to approximately 41 million. To ensure the surplus is aligned with the level of risk associated with the municipality, a surplus margin of none was applied and benchmarked against established target range of 10 to 20 on the approved NERSA cost of supply framework. In terms of the financial performance of the municipality recorded a deficit of 15.51 in 24-25 financial year, improving from 27 in 23-24 financial year. This shows an improvement in the financial performance of the electricity business. With regard to share cost, the costs were verified against DFOM, trial balance, and audited AFS to ensure that they relate only to electricity function of the licensee. With regard to the cross-subsidization, in the absence of cross-subsidy framework, the Munich is applying an increase of 8.49 across the board. With regard to public participation, NERSA complied with Section 10 of PAJA by publishing the application on its website and relevant newspapers. The municipality also conducted its own public consultation process in line with its council-approved budgeted process and submitted proof of consultation. No correspondence was received from the municipality on the comments received. The cost driver indicated full cost reflective require an average increase of 9.12 for the 26-27 financial year. The municipality is proposing 8.49 increase to balance financial sustainability with considering customer affordability. With regard to the recommendation, Chairperson, the tariff are based on cost drivers are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by municipality with effect from 1 July 2026. The cost driver submitted by the municipality be noted. The municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in its cost drivers to enable the regulator to perform its independent verification and audit process by 31st January 2027. The municipality is required to continue to monitor the plans put in place in reducing high energy losses and submit progress report to NERSA on quarterly basis starting from 30 September 2026. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Mapitzing. Members, any input from your side? Yes, Mr. Mkhize.
Thanks, Chairman. Thanks, Ms. Mapitzing, for the presentation. I would request that we ensure going forward that when we looking at the public comments and the solicitation of comments by municipalities, that we just don't get that they did that, but more information in terms of what were the comments, or if those comments were adequately addressed, because we don't want to somehow be party to them not actually duly considering those comments. In future applications, let's take that route, because I believe that if a lot can be done in that regard, even ours will be more effective in terms of addressing whatever that could not have been addressed during their process.
Thank you,
Mr. Mkhize. And any issue on that, Ms. Mapitzing? I hope you have noted
the weekend with on Monday. Since of Monday, Pella Tuesday, his office, Ngingabuzo,
members, on that note, point of enhancements in terms of assessing the applications, the recommendations have been read into the records. They are on page 475. May I, by show of hand, get an indication that the members support the recommendations as read into the report? Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. I do support. Thank you, Ms. Maseti. Thank you, Mr. Madola. The application is approved. We will move on to Raymond Mhlaba, Ms. Municipality. Ms. Matlo, over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Chairperson, members, and colleagues. NERSA received Raymond Mhlaba tariff application on 31 March 2026, and it was published on the NERSA website and social media, and there were no comments received from the stakeholders. And from the municipality side, the tariff application was approved by the council, and they submitted a proof of consultation, and there were no objections. With regard to financial and technical performance, the municipality's performance has improved as they are now operating at a surplus of 32.61 for 2024-25 financial year, when compared to the previous year, it was 41.11% deficit. The improvement in surplus is due to one-time 99.8 million ESCOM debt waiver. However, the energy losses has increased to 21.41% in 2020, 21.49% in 2024-25 financial year. The municipality has implemented measures in place in reducing high energy losses. The what if energy losses analysis was done. However, it indicates that if the municipality reduce the energy loss by 12%, they will have an additional surplus of 12 million. And then they will have an additional surplus of 138 million, and there is a revenue loss of 12 million as a result of high energy losses. In terms of the tariff application, the tariff is based on the existing COS that is valid for 5 years and was used to determine the cost drivers for 26-27 financial year in line with Section 18.7 of the COS framework. The costs were built up from verified bulk purchases, ESCOM invoices, and verified electricity-related operating costs, and these were tested against GFORM, trial balance, and audited financial statements. Table 4 on page 509 of the RFD highlights all the figures that were used in determining allowable revenue. To ensure that the profit margin is commensurate with the risk, the following risks were identified. We have the operational risk, the operational risk, and the financial sustainability risk. And the municipality didn't exceed the NMD, and there are no interest on the bulk account. And the costs were mainly for electricity business and were indicated on the D form and verified on the AFS, which separates municipal businesses. And with regards to the results of this, with regards to the result of COS adjustment tool, the tool indicates an increase of 11.94. However, the municipality decided to increase the tariff by 11.8 to consider customer affordability. The municipality has decided to implement uniform approach on all their tariffs in the absence of subsidy framework, and domestic customers are being subsidized by commercial and industrial customers. And future COS studies will refine tariff structures and reduce distortions between customer categories. The recommendations are as follows. Tariffs that are based on the cost drivers are approved as recommended for implementation 1 July 2026. The cost drivers report submitted by the municipality being noted. The municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted to enable the energy regulator to perform its independent verification. The municipality to submit energy losses reduction progress report by 30 September for the energy regulator to monitor the implementation thereof. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mato. Members, Mr. Mkiza, I see your hand is up. I take it it's a lingering hand. Otherwise, if there's a point you want to raise, please do so.
Yes, it is a lingering hand, but let me just weigh in, please, under paragraph 3.2. With your permission, Chair, the municipality, this recorded a 32.61% surplus. But I noted that there was this one-time 99.8 million ESCOM debt waiver. And I appreciate the fact that you did include as to where this municipality will stand without this waiver. Although I don't know the terms and conditions and everything that go with this kind of a debt waiver, one would really say, if there are these, why the other municipalities are not making use of this debt waiver on their side to kind of assist them and then be able to deal with these other issues of whilst at the same time improving the energy losses. Yeah, that is just my concern and my appreciation of ensuring that you do talk to what the reality would be like had they not been waived. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkiza. Ms. Masetti.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, just one question from me, and this is the question of the assessment done on the issue of high energy losses versus the surplus allowed, of which surplus must also be informed by the risk, since it is linked to the profit margin that is commensurate with the risk. So I just want to check here with the high energy losses and then the surplus. How did you reconcile these two, given other risks that are there, as well as from the efficiency point of view? So when you look at the high energy losses and you look at the surplus, of which surplus must be informed by the profit margin determined in terms of the risk. Then from that, can you then tell us how did you navigate the balance between ensuring efficiency and also allowing that a surplus or profit commensurate with the risk? So it's the risk perspective and the surplus and the efficiency. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I see there's a hand up from Mr. Majola. Mr. Majola.
No, apologies, it's a lingering hand.
Okay, thank you. Response, Ms. Matlo.
Okay, thank you, Chair. The first question I will respond is for Mr. Mkhize. With regards to the situation, if there were no debt waiver, the municipality could have been operated at a deficit of 24.08 if there were no waiver. With regards to Ms. Maseti's question, we allowed the surplus margin of 6%, taking into account the financial position of the municipality, because we looked at the risk, and one of the risks is, even though this waiver is a one-time off, but after the waiver, what will happen? The situation it might operate also, it might go back and operate as a surplus. So energy losses is still one of the risks. We consider the risk that we see that might impact on the surplus, and then thereafter, then we allowed the 6% risk. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any follow-ups? And I think, Mr. Matubula, if you can note this, that there's a waiver given or rather applied for by other municipalities. Why can't we also encourage or rather look at whether the others can apply for it? Or maybe let me just take back what I've said. The issue of the debt waiver, how is it being considered? Is it based on application by a Munich or not? And what can we do as a regulator in that regard? Over to you, if you can come in.
Yeah, currently this is an arrangement between the Munich as well as ESCOM. So it's an agreement that they would have. However, I think in future, when such has happened, it will be key that we get to understand the conditions of such agreements so that we can understand how they will affect the Munich going forward. Chair, I think that's what we can do going forward. But it is an arrangement between Munich and ESCOM.
Struggling to unmute. We know that is just an arrangement outside of our regulatory mandate. It is an arrangement between a licensed distributor and ESCOM. Let me just check with the members if there is any other follow-ups in terms of the responses given. Ms. Maseti, are you covered, ma'am, in terms of the high energy losses versus the surplus that has been allowed in terms of the response given by Ms. Matlo? Are you covered, ma'am? Ms. Maseti is muted. Mr. Mkhize, are you covered on your point on the debt waiver?
I think for my side, I note that it's something that we need to do the probing post this process to ensure that if there is anything that needs to be done by other Munichs, in terms of them being put in a better financial position, they need to then make sure that they do that. I think it's something that we should not leave, outside and say it's outside of our domain. And the approach that Mr. Matebula is taking, I think it is aligned with what I'm just now emphasizing. Thank you.
Okay, all right. On Mr. Mkize's point that Matebula, we do note that this debt waiver is an issue of an arrangement that's outside of our regulatory role. However, I think the point being made is that let's also advise the municipality of taking advantage of this particular point with ESCOM. And I think Ms. Masete has given a thumbs up in terms of the responses given in relation to the high energy losses versus the surplus allowed. And on that note, members, the recommendations have been read into the record, and the recommendations are on pages 496 to 497. And by show of hand, members, can I get an indication that you support the approval of this particular application? Thank you, Mr. Majola, Ms. Maseti, Mr. Kize. I also support. We then move on to the next one, which is Saldanha Bay. Ms. Mapinya, over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members, colleagues, and members of the public. Saldanha Bay is situated in the Western Cape. They are applying for an average increase of 9.26%. The application that is before NERSA was approved by council, and the municipality has indicated that it conducted its own public participation process on the application. Chairperson, the previous comments given by members on the comments received by the municipalities have been noted. And NERSA also followed its own public participation process in line with Section 10 read with PAJA. No stakeholder comments were received by the closing date of 21 April 2026. The municipality has an existing cost of supply study, and it has applied a cost plus methodology. The cost adjustment tool was used, and the asset value and the depreciation cost were extracted from the deforms, and they were verified using the audited annual financial statements. The surplus is currently at 8% and is slightly below the 10 to 20% cost of supply framework range. If the municipality were to reduce its losses from 13.04 to 12%, the municipality were to recover an additional revenue of about 3 million to improve the revenue of the municipality. The municipality is therefore encouraged to improve its energy losses to a single digit to improve its surplus. And to ensure that the surplus is not overstated in line with policy position 1 cost, the surplus was tested against the key risk factors such as the collection rate, energy losses, the financial sustainability of the municipality, and considering customer affordability. The municipality has not exceeded its NMD and is up to date with the ESCOM bulk account. Therefore, there is no interest. In terms of cross-subsidy, the commercial and industrial customers are subsidizing the rest of the customer base. Therefore, there is an immediate need for the municipality to develop a cross-subsidization framework to adequately address the cross-subsidization issues in a transparent and a fair manner. The municipality is proposing a uniform tariff increase of 9.26%, which is below the 11.77 existing cost of supply results. And then, Chairperson, I would like to take you to the recommendations on page 519 of 363, that the REC is required to approve the tariffs that are based on the cost of supply report for implementation by 1 July 2026. To note the cost of supply report submitted by the municipality, that the municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in the cost of supply study to allow the regulator to perform its independent verification audit process. The municipality is also required to submit quarterly energy losses reduction progress reports by 30 September 2026. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Mapinya. Members, any questions, issues of clarity or points of enhancements in relation to this particular application? Please do so. I see a thumbs up from Ms. Mkize. Doesn't have any question, any of the members? On that note, members, the recommendations have been read into the record. They are on page 519 of the RFD. And may I, on that note, take get an indication that you support the recommendations as read into the record? Thank you, Ms. Masiki. Mr. Mkize, I do support. Thank you, Mr. Majola. We move on to, let me not twist my tongue on this one. Same municipality, Ms. Mako.
Good afternoon, Chairperson and members. Sengu municipality is situated in the Eastern Cape. The municipality submitted the tariff application by 31 March 2026 and it was posted on the NERSA website, social media, and there were no objections. And on the municipality side, the tariff application was approved by the council and they submitted a proof and there were no objections. With regard to financial and technical performance, the financial of the performance of the municipality are not satisfactory as they are operating at a deficit of 5.90%. This is due to 15% increase in total revenue. And then with regard to the energy losses are at 23.3% and they have a plan in place in reducing the energy losses. With regards to what if scenario of the energy losses, there is 9 million in lost revenue, and if the municipality can reduce the losses, they will have an additional revenue of 20 million, which translates to 16.63 surplus. And the costs were verified from the bulk purchases, ESCOM invoices, and they were verified on electricity-related operating costs, and these were tested against deformed trial balance and audited AFS, and they are all aligned to the COS framework. And Table 4 of the RFD highlights all figures used in determining revenue requirement under the cost plus methodology. And the municipality doesn't know ESCOM and they didn't exceed the NMD. And to make sure that the profit margin is commensurate with the risk, we identified the following risk is the revenue collection risk, the operational risk, and the financial stability requirements risk. And the tariff application for this municipality, we use the existing COS as it values for 5 years, and we determine the cost drivers for 2026-27 financial year. And the municipality decided to increase their tariffs by 11.42 and not 14.50%, which is the result of the adjustment tool. And the reason for that was to consider customer affordability and sustainability. And the municipality has implemented a uniform approach in all their tariff categories, in all their tariff customer categories. And the domestic customers are being subsidized by the commercial and industrial. And with regards to the recommendations, the tariffs that are based on cost of supply on the cost drivers are approved for as recommended for implementation 1 July 2026. The cost drivers report submitted by the municipality be noted. The municipality to submit report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in the COS cost drivers to enable the regulator to perform an independent verification. The municipality to submit energy losses reduction plan by 30 September 2026 for the energy regulator to perform an independent verification. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. McClung. Members, any questions, issues of clarity or points of announcement on this particular application from SING? By show of hand, please, members. I don't see any hand on that note, members. The recommendations, they are on 541 and they've been read into the record. Can I get an indication that you support the approval of the recommendations of this on this particular application? Thank you, Mr. Mkhize, Mr. Matlala. I do support. Thank you, Ms. Maseti. We move on to the next one, which is Swartland Municipality. Ms. Matumbu, over to you, ma'am.
Chair, Swartland is a municipality situated in the Western Cape and has applied for an average tariff increase of 11.44. The application is supported by an existing cost of supply, which use the cost plus methodology and not the rate of return. The municipality submitted its council resolution and proof of having conducted customer consultation together with its application on 31 March to NERSA. No correspondence regarding objections received by the municipality was submitted to NERSA. The application was then published on the NERSA website in accordance with the prescribed process, and we received one objection from Darling Action Group Community Organization. The stakeholder objected to the proposed 11.44% tariff increase for 26-27, arguing that it will impose an undue financial burden on both residents and businesses. The comment was responded to on table 5 of page 583 by indicating that NERSA is guided by the principle of cost reflectivity, affordability, and the financial sustainability of electricity service provision, and that the proposed tariff increases has been assessed using the municipality's cost of supply study to determine whether the tariffs are aligned with the efficient cost of rendering the service. From a financial and technical perspective, the municipality demonstrates stable performance as it recorded a surplus of 19.33 and low energy losses of 3.20, thus indicating prudent financial management and operational efficiency as per the audited to 2024-2025 financials. Chairperson, the cost of supply indicated that for the municipality to reach cost reflectivity, a 20% increase to their tariff was required. However, the municipality opted for a phased-in approach to implement the cost of supply outcomes over a period of 3 years to mitigate the tariff shocks to the customers. The tariff structure also reflected cross-subsidization, whereby over-recovering tariffs categories were subsidizing the under-recovering ones. And the municipality is encouraged to develop a cross-subsidization framework to objectively address the cross-subsidization issues in a transparent and fair manner. As per section 18.7 of the cost of supply framework, the tariff application was used a cost adjustment tool as per table 4 on page 580, and it was derived from efficient and prudent operating costs, which the revenue requirement showed a 689 million with depreciation of 20 million and a surplus margin of 48 million, which translated to a 7% increase. To ensure that the surplus was reasonable and not overstated, the margin was tested against the NERSA cost of supply framework, and which provides a benchmark of 10 to 20%. And the margin was also assessed against the risk factors, which include revenue collection risks, such as non-payment, bad debt, operational risk, including energy losses and aging infrastructure, and the need to maintain financial sustainability of the electricity function. The municipality has no ESCOM areas, no interest charges, and no NMD penalties. This ensures that customers are not burdened by avoidable costs. Chairperson, it should also be noted that the municipality instituted a review application in the Gauteng division of the High Court on 10 October 2023 to set aside NERSA's 2023-2024 tariff decision, which NERSA opposed, and the matter was argued in court in February 2025, and the judgment is currently reserved. Therefore, the proposed average tariff increase of 11.44 for the 26-27 financial year is based on the council-approved tariffs currently being implemented by the municipality. And given that the municipality implemented tariffs that were not approved by NERSA for the 25-26 financial year, the effective increase translates to a 14.72 increase when measured against the NERSA approved tariffs. However, for regulatory purposes, NERSA approved 2025-2026 tariffs were used as a base and were escalated by the 11.44 tariff increase that the municipality has applied for. Chairperson, the recommendation are as follows, and they are on page 569. The tariffs that are based on the COS report are approved as recommended in the tariff analysis section for implementation by the municipality with effect from 1 July 2026. The cost of supply submitted by the municipality be noted, and the municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in its cost of supply to enable the regulator to perform its independent verification and audit process. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Matumbu. Members, any comments, issues of clarity on the presentation made? Ms. Maseti?
Chairperson, I do know that the judgment is reserved on this matter, but I think what is important is that in terms of the decision that we are required to take, we must make sure that we don't repeat the concerns that formed part of our decision that was taken to court. So what is key in these matters and what the parties are taking NERSA to court is how strong we are in terms of applying the efficiency standard, the efficiency test. What is it? What are the aspects that we looked at and what outcomes they reveal? So we are very thin on that, and the team seems to simply be generalizing based on the guidance, because some of the aspects they're supposed to be case specific. They are not going to be applicable in all instances, but those are they depend on the facts of the case, of the matter that is before us. Same with the risk that that are mentioned here. So they are not mentioned. I mean, there's a generalization, for instance, that if you look at this municipality, the energy losses are low to start off with. And if you also look at the collection rate that is mentioned as a risk here, the collection rate as the energy losses are low, it is also good. They can mention it even on record if they would like to. So how do you then say those are the risk? In what way are they the risk? Or are we taking it to say, okay, energy losses, they are very low, and therefore this municipality is doing very well, therefore we must reward them? Are we going to take it as a reward so that these were the risks that are there, but the municipality at least is doing well? Let's then compensate on that basis. Is that what we are doing here? So we need to just be very clear how these things are supposed to be done. So some of the risk, they also tend to be linked to inefficiencies, right? Say, for instance, if there's a high debt that the municipality is facing, and therefore there's an interest on that debt. So obviously it is a risk, and the municipality must deal with those things and improve. So here I'm not hearing the staff member clarifying those things properly. And the other issue that we must emphasize on in this matter is that determination of the surplus, which we know that it is challenged. And having it been challenged, we heard also the lawyers mentioning that, yes, in terms of what the law says we must do, it becomes a return, a reasonable return, or a profit margin commensurate with the risk. And that must be linked to an acceptable or appropriate, that's the word that is used in the EPP, appropriate asset value. That's what is used. So those are the aspects that even the senior counsels for those parties have argued strongly about us not touching on those things to show some reasonableness. So that surplus, the staff member must link it up. I'm not happy with the assessment, especially on a case that already is before the court. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Seti. Mr. Mkhize.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thanks, Madam Matumbu, for the presentation. I am kind of conscious of the fact that you are also dealing with a matter that is somehow also sub judice. I would just like to get clarity here. The municipality applied based on their own sort of so to say determination, and we then worked on it as being the equivalent of what we determined, or there was a discussion around that, or it's something that we just did as an internal process on our own without any kind of discussion at a technical level. Just want to understand the process that we were following. It's very clear in my mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Matumbu, or any of the members, EM, if you can assist, but I'll start with Ms. Matumbu to try and respond to the issues raised by members. Over to you. And also LAS to come in. Ms. Matumbu.
Thank you, Chair. To respond to Mr. Mkhize's question first, the municipality has been implementing their council-approved rates from 2023-2024 financial year. So when they apply to NERSA, they use their council-approved rates and escalate them with whatever percentage that they'll be applying for it then. So what we as NERSA do on our side, we use the NERSA approved rates and escalate it by the percentage that the municipality would be applying for. For instance, in this application, we took the 2025 NERSA approved rates and escalated them by the 11.44% that the municipality is applying for. Because when we use their council approved rates that they applied for, it translates to a 14% increase when we use our NERSA as a base. That's how we did it even in the 25-26 financial year, because of the pending court case which we are awaiting for judgment. To try and respond to Ms. Maseti's surplus issue or risk of the in connection with the surplus, the revenue collection risk, ma'am, even though the losses are low, it is still a municipal risk of the non-payment or delayed payments and bad debts. And also we took into account the changes in consumption patterns which can reduce sales and impact the overall cost recovery of the municipality. Also, the bulk purchase from Eskom and other inflationary pressures on OPEX can also increase or be associated with the risk, ma'am. Hence, we we took that approach and also benchmarked it against our COS framework, and the 7% that was shown on table 4 of the RFD, we found it reasonable, and it's acceptable. Thanks. I hope that answers your question. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Matumbu. I don't know if the EMU wants to come or LAS on this one.
Chair, no further comment on my side.
Okay, I don't see any hand. Ms. Masetti, I'm trying to read your comment. I don't know, I can't read it properly. If you want to verbalize it, the challenge that you're indicating there.
Thank you, Chairperson, for the opportunity. Chairperson, on the question that I asked, I'm not answered, but also I think we will be, I'm sure you also hearing the word today that says escalation. That on its own, it's something that is introduced now. It's new, given the fact that we have guided on how the assessment must be done and the specific factors that must inform the assessment. So I would not want to delay your time, Chairperson, but the way that this application and the assessment that is done, for me, it does not meet the standard. And I think we will be opening ourselves up on this very same municipality to be challenged. So I would not want to waste your time, Chairperson. I'm not happy with the assessment. I would not support it. At least I will, on this basis and the questions that I've asked and what I've put in here, it's not properly done. And there are issues of the cost of supply, the costs that are there. And we cannot therefore talk about any escalation. And we will be challenged by this municipality and the customers of this municipality. On that basis, Chairperson, I'm not in support of approving. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mkhize.
Thank you, Chairperson. On my side, I look at the submission and say to myself, the issues have been dealt with in a particular way. And there is a issue of the articulation, which could be also giving challenges, bringing challenges in terms of what actually was done and how it is being articulated. Well, good work has gone into it, but the challenge being that it is done in a particular way, which may not necessarily be the best. So I would request that we put this application in abeyance, and then not the application as such, we put the consideration of this application in abeyance, and then on the issues that are of legal nature, that we have we deal with it as part of the governance issues, and because the process is still not concluded in its entirety, it will be determined or dealt with when we then have another meeting considering these tariff applications. That would be my proposal, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. And Mr. Majola, any comment from your side?
Chair, from my side, I would support what Mr. Mkhize is saying, that we delay the decision and then maybe after that get some inputs from the legal people as well. Then having taken into consideration the response from the legal people, we can then take it to the next step. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Masetti, will you be covered with that we delay the finalization of this particular application? We send it back and we request that the issue of the legal issues, and as well as the maybe I may not use the wrong word. Let me just say the reduction, for example, in energy losses, how they were taken into account in terms of coming to the recommendations that we are being presented with. May I check with you if you're fine with that we defer it for finalization for the next sitting?
Chairperson, I'm in support of the matter to just refer it back, just like we took those decisions previously for enhancement, as opposed to maybe deferment. We just return it back for more work to be done on the legal analysis and also technical and economic analysis that needs to be done. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. On that note, Ms. Matumbu, I think you have noted the decision. I do support it as well, that we're referring the submission back for enhancements to address the points that have been raised by the members. On that note, is there anything that is not clear to you that you want to have it clarified? Ms. Matumbu?
Thank you, Chair. I wanted my clarity in terms of legal analysis that needs to be done. What guidance can the court, can the members provide in terms of what is required on the legal analysis, so that when I engage with legal, I know exactly what to mention, what the members are requiring, because currently, as indicated, the judgment of this matter is reserved. Hence, legal cannot didn't provide me with further things to, or further analysis to input in the current analysis. So can the members guide in terms of what is exactly I should
all right. I think one of the things
legal.
that
Thanks.
Okay, I see Mr. Mkize's hand is up. One of the issues was the term that you have, or rather the process that you have introduced in the analysis, which was the escalation of what is being applied for. Are we legally empowered to do that or not? I think that's one of the things that needs to be covered. And I will also request the secretary for the meeting to really share the part of the recording of the discussion of members, so that we can get exactly what was said. But the issue of the escalation that you have used, which was said, it's one of the new things that you're introducing. Are we allowed to do that or not? Maybe it's just the wording that is incorrect that you have used. But let me take the members to just add on the legal issues that needs to be covered in terms of this. But I think there's an indication that the economic issues as well must be looked at. And those are the notes that I've taken. Let me allow Mr. Mkize to come in.
No, thanks, Chairperson. I was just wanted to come in from a point of view of being economic with our time, noting that we have had this meeting without breaks up to now, and there's still more to discuss. That the matter is, we've always emphasized that legal and in other words, should be integrated into the work of the team and not always be called in like this. And therefore, let's stick to that. And the issue is the process to be followed under these circumstances, whether the approach that you are taking, it is indeed the most legally astute one. There could be other issues that are linked to the legalities, but in general, and maybe being specific, as you say, is the way we've approached this the correct one, and what needs to be done to make sure that all the areas are covered on the legal side. Let me leave it at that in the interest of time.
Thank you. Ms. Masuti?
Chairperson, I'm covered by Mr. Mkize, and this is not supposed to be something that takes place. At least we try our best, but we can't, when we bring these matters here, it's also for the decision. So we can't on each and every matter when we've tried to now guide on each and every matter. It's supposed to be something that is done there, especially on a matter like this, when there's another, application that is before the court. This one is a new matter altogether, a new set of facts, but what is important are the principles that we were challenged on to make sure that those principles are thoroughly dealt with and that we do pay attention to those principles. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Maseki. I trust that Ms. Matumbu, everything is cleared up. We move on to the next item, which is the last application. Walter Sisulu Municipality. Ms. McGill, over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon once more, members and colleagues. NERSA received Walter Sisulu tariff application on 31 March 2026, and it was published on the NERSA website, social media, and there were no objections received from the stakeholders. And the municipality on their side also consulted, they submitted a proof, and there were no objections received. With regard to the financial and technical performance, it has improved, even though they are all still operating at a deficit, because currently they are operating at 10.64 compared to previous year where it was 18.11. And the reason for the reduction in deficit is due to 93% increase in grant revenue allocations and a reduction in energy losses. And the energy losses are sitting at 13.12, which is an improvement from 16.1% in 23-24 financial year. And when we do what if scenario with regard to loss analysis, energy loss analysis, there is 2.4 lost revenue in terms of these losses. And if the municipality reduce the energy losses to 12%, they will have an additional revenue of 30 million, which translates to a surplus of 17.13. And this tariff application is based on the existing COS that is valid for 5 years and was used to determine the cost drivers for 26-27 financial year in line with section 18.7 of the framework. The municipalities incurred interest on non-payment of bulk account, and they have exceeded their NMD. And the costs were built up from verified bulk purchases, ESCOM invoices, and verified electricity-related operating costs, and they were tested against DFORMs, trend balance, and audited financial statements. Table 4 on page 161 of the RFD highlights all the figures that were used in determining the allowable revenue. And the allowable revenue before we remove the inefficient cost, it was 310 million. And after removing the inefficient cost, the allowable revenue amounts to 292 million. And then to ensure that the surplus is commensurate with the profit margin is commensurate with the risk, the following risks were identified. The risks that were identified, we looked at the financial performance of the municipality in considering the risk. We consider the revenue collection risk, the financial stability risk, and the surplus. After before removing the inefficient cost was 457 million. And after removing the inefficient cost, it was 268 million. And the municipality has decided to increase their tariffs by 10% and not 10.25 as indicated on the adjusted tool due to customer affordability. And then the municipality has decided to implement uniform approach in the absence of subsidy framework. Domestic customers are being subsidized by commercial and industrial customers. And with regards to the recommendations, tariffs that are based on COS report are approved as recommended for implementation 1 July 2026. The cost driver submitted by the municipality being noted. The municipality is required to submit a report accounting for all the costs that have been noted in the COS to enable the regulator to perform its independent verification. The municipality is required to submit energy losses reduction report by 30 September 2026 for the energy regulator to monitor the implementation. I thank you, Chair.
Chairperson, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I was talking. Yes, I was muted. Apologies for that. Any questions, issues of clarity or points of enhancements from the members in relation to this application by Walter Sisulu Municipality? A show of hand, members. I do not see any hand, and on that note, I would want to take members to the recommendations, which have been read into the record. They are on paragraph, or rather on pages 609 to 610. Members, can I get an indication that you support the recommendations as read into the record? Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. Mr. Majola, Ms. Maseti are also support. That was the last application that we have had on our agenda today in terms of the application for municipal and private distributor or licensed municipality and licensed distributors for the financial year 2026-27 financial year. On that note, let me thank the presenters on this particular item. We then move on to the next item, that is in the last item for the open session of our meeting, which is a report on registered generation facilities approved in the fourth quarter for 2025-26 financial year. Mr. Matebula, it is here for noting. Do you want to introduce the item?
Yes, Chair. Yeah, as per norm, this is to bring to the members of the regulator to note the number of registered facility for the last quarter. So if there is any specifics that Mr. Sanele Zulu would like to bring to the attention of the members, I would allow him to do that, Chair, before we consider the recommendations. Thank you.
Okay, over to Sanele. Sorry, I just missed your surname. You may come in.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I hope I'm audible.
You are, Mr. Zulu.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good afternoon to you, Chairperson. Good afternoon to the members of the REC, the NERSA management, colleagues, and members of the public. We're taking this submission, Chair, as having been read. I think the pertinent information maybe for this submission, just for the members to notice that we have registered 112 generation facilities on the fourth quarter, which had a total capacity of 1,327 megawatts and 28.2 billion rands. And also, Chair, maybe to note also that NERSA processed applications during the fourth quarter on an average of 8 working days, which is an improvement, Chairperson, of 4 days when compared to the fourth quarter of the previous financial year. With that, Chair, it is recommended that the REC note the quarterly report on registered generation facilities approved in the fourth quarter of the 2025-26 financial year in terms of the standing instruction number 9 of the electricity subcommittee delegation matrix. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Zulu. Members, any comments, issues of clarity or points of enhancements that you may have on this particular item? I don't see any hand from the members. Mr. Mkhize?
Thank you very much for the presentation, Makeb. I'm just unsure of maybe it's me who's missed it somewhere, but I'm trying to find I've tried to find the implications. What this means to us as a regulator and the industry as a whole. What are the implications? Just if you can have just a short section that will deal with that kind of an analysis in the future. Because there could be some important things to learn from this, and to also kind of be forward-looking in terms of that analysis. But otherwise, I'm happy for my side to note the report before us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. And Mr. Zulu, I think you may not have a response for now, but I think under paragraph 11, you can cover the point made by Mr. Mkhize, because there we're just indicating the implication for the organization as being a linkage to the APP, but there may be other things that we are required to undertake as an organization that are coming as an impact based on this number of 112 registered generation facility. On that note, members, with that point of enhancement for the future reports, can I get an indication that you support the noting of this report? Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. I do support. Thank you, Ms. Maseti. I don't see a hand from Mr. Thank you, Mr. Majolo. On that note, that was the last item on our open session. Let me thank the NERSA management and support staff for the presentation, and also the REC members for really interrogating these reports and also guiding the team in terms of what needs to be done. That is really appreciated. And also thank you to our members of the public or interested and affected parties that have joined us to observe this particular proceeding. We have come to the end of the open